Chapter 2420. Kong Han was helpless under Lin Luo's sword. When the other immortal soldiers saw this, they all stopped and looked hesitant. "Do you dare to kill me in Langfeng City?" Kong Han said coldly without turning his head. Although he was under Lin Luo's control, his tone was still tough and threatening. "You can try." Lin Luo didn't argue with him, and just replied casually. At the same time, she thrust the long sword in her hand forward slightly. The sharp tip of the sword instantly pierced the back of Kong Han's head, and a trace of blood slowly seeped out. Kong Han's heart trembled, and he immediately became obedient and kept silent. Su Zimo looked at Kong Han and said loudly, "General Kong is so nervous. Just now, you even want to kill the leader of the army vanquishing demon bandits to silence him. What are you worried about?" "What do you mean by silence? I don't understand," Kong Han said coldly. "My duty is to protect Langfeng City. Naturally, I have to eradicate all the demon bandits who have sneaked into the city." "Is that so?" Su Zimo chuckled and said sarcastically, "General Kong is so powerful. Why didn't you notice this person before? Instead, I caught him from the crowd? Could this leader of the army vanquishing demon bandits have some shady business with General Kong?" Kong Han's expression was ugly, and he didn't say a word. After this battle, the surrounding cultivators gradually calmed down. Those who were a little smarter could see the problem. However, this matter was too shocking and had exceeded the imagination of many cultivators. The demon bandits of the Jade Heaven Immortal Realm colluded with the general of Langfeng City? Was this just Kong Han's own doing? Or were other cultivators involved? Or did the 5 cities and 12 towers acquiesce? If this matter was true, did it happen recently? Or had it been a long time? After thinking about it for a while, one could feel a chill in their bones. Who is talking nonsense and slandering the imperial guards of Langfeng City? At this moment, a loud shout came from afar. Then, a white light appeared in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived and revealed its figure. This was a young man. His entire body was covered in white feathered clothes that flickered with a mysterious glimmer. His expression was arrogant, and his aura was powerful. Celestial Immortal White Feather. So he is Celestial Immortal White Feather. According to the legends, he is the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. Not only that, Celestial Immortal White Feather's battle prowess is definitely in the top 3 of the heavenly rankings. She might even have a chance to fight for the #1 spot in this feast of immortality. Cries of surprise came from the crowd. Many cultivators looked at this man with a trace of admiration and worship. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Celestial Immortal White Feather and Su Zimo were both level 9 Celestial Immortals, the pressure that White Feather gave Su Zimo was clearly much greater. In the Jade Pure Palace, he was able to fight against the princes and princesses, and even gain the upper hand. Firstly, there were many restrictions in the Jade Pure Palace. Secondly, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were only 7th level Heavenly Immortals. They were not peak Heavenly Immortals. If this so-called #1 Celestial Immortal in Langfeng City could also be ranked in the top 3 of the heavenly rankings, she would be much more difficult to deal with than Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. It could be said that this Celestial Immortal White Feather was a monstrous genius among 9th level Heavenly Immortals. Su Zimo was now a 5th level Heavenly Immortal. There was a difference of 4 levels between them. The difference in strength was too great, and it would be difficult to make up for it. So it's just 2 small fries. Celestial Immortal White Feather could see the cultivation realms of Su Zimo and Lin Luo. She could not help but sneer. "You 2 bitches really think that there's no one in my Langfeng City? 5th level Heavenly Immortals and 6th level Heavenly Immortals dare to behave atrociously in the city. Die." Celestial Immortal White Feather did not give Su Zimo a chance to speak. She immediately attacked. Swoosh! Swoosh! Celestial Immortal White Feather's body trembled. The white feathered clothes on her body actually fell off, transforming into thousands of white lights that enveloped Su Zimo. These white feathers were extremely fast. The light was dazzling and blinding, blotting out the sun. The surrounding cultivators all paled in horror. Celestial Immortal White Feather has no intention of holding back at all. He's going to kill that green-robed scholar instantly. I heard that this is one of Celestial Immortal White Feather's secret techniques. Any single white feather is comparable to a top-grade Dharma treasure, let alone thousands of them at the same time. After this secret technique, I reckon that green-robed scholar won't even have a single bone left. Just as everyone was discussing, 6 gigantic white ivory tusks suddenly grew out from Su Zimo's back, emitting a mysterious power. Su Zimo's aura skyrocketed. Immediately after, Su Zimo clasped 2 fingers together and formed a sword finger, slashing gently in front of him. Chi! Chi! The temperature of the world plummeted as killing intent filled the air. Countless stars appeared in the skies above Langfeng City, moving continuously with chaotic trajectories. The heavens released killing intent, shifting the stars. Thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth with a massive might, and collided with the incoming white feather immortal light, causing a series of clanging sounds and sparks to fly everywhere. What a powerful sword art! I've never seen such a ferocious killing intent before. Could it be the legendary heaven-slaying sword art? The moment he said that, the crowd fell into a momentary silence before an even louder uproar broke out. That's right. Only the heaven-slaying sword art can possess such might. What's the background of this person? How can he wield the heaven-slaying sword art? He's able to defend against a single attack from Celestial Immortal White Feather, as a rank 5 heavenly immortal. In midair, Su Zimo released his 6 tusks divine power, and his essence chi skyrocketed, reaching the level of a rank 6 heavenly immortal. The essence chi of Qinglian's true body was rich and pure, and it was not a problem for her to cross 2 minor realms. However, he was still weaker than Celestial Immortal White Feather in terms of strength. Thankfully, he had a powerful secret technique, like the heaven-slaying sword chi, to make up for the difference, and barely managed to defend against Celestial Immortal White Feather's attack. Heaven-slaying sword art? When Celestial Immortal White Feather saw that Su Zimo was safe and sound, he was not enraged. Instead, his eyes lit up and he shouted, "The heaven-slaying sword art is in your hands. How can a rank 5 heavenly immortal be worthy of such a sword art?" Celestial Immortal White Feather was overjoyed. In his eyes, Su Zimo was an opportunity that came knocking on his door. As long as he killed Su Zimo and obtained the heaven-slaying sword art, he would definitely be able to sweep through all his peers at the Immortal Peach Banquet and become the top of the heaven ranking. Die! With an excited expression, Celestial Immortal White Feather attacked once more. This time round, his attacks were even more ferocious. Mystic skills, immortal arts, and Dharma treasures poured out like a torrential downpour. When Lin Luo saw this, she was a little anxious and tightened her grip on her sword as she threatened Kong Han. "Hurry up and give the order for him to stop or I'll kill you." Hee. Kong Han chuckled strangely. "Lass, this Celestial Immortal White Feather is the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. I'm just a general. What right do I have to order him around? If you're worried about that Dao companion of yours, let me go. If you join forces with him, you might have a chance to deal with Celestial Immortal White Feather." "Shut up," Lin Luo shouted softly. Restraining Kong Han was equivalent to restraining the surrounding Imperial Guards. There was no way Lin Luo would let him go so easily. However, on the other side, Su Zimo seemed to be unable to hold on under Kong Han's attacks, and was in a bad situation. Chapter 24-21. On the battlefield, Su Zimo was completely suppressed, as though he could be suppressed at any moment. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. He had been at a disadvantage since the start of the battle, and had been on the defensive almost the entire time. It was not that he did not have any trump cards to counterattack. If he was alone, he could advance or retreat as he pleased without any qualms. But now he had Lin Luo by his side. He did not want to cause too much trouble and implicate Lin Luo, causing the two of them to be trapped here. In this conflict, they were on the side of reason. If they really went on a killing spree in Langfeng City, it would be difficult to explain. This was the Jade Firmament Immortal region. He and Lin Luo were in a foreign land, and could not act rashly without considering the consequences. There were many perfected immortals in Langfeng City. Alarming any one of them would lead to unpredictable consequences. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes and stared at Heaven Immortal Baiyu, who was still attacking him. He said in a deep voice, "By you, the essence spirit of the army-vanquishing demon leader is in my hands. As long as I search his soul, the truth will naturally be revealed." "Humph." Heaven Immortal Baiyu sneered. "What truth? I don't care. You adulterous couple openly went against the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. You deserve to die." Heaven Immortal Baiyu had no intention of stopping her attacks, as she continued to spew profanities. Su Zimo's expression darkened. Since the start of this conflict, although he and Lin Luo had attacked, they had always restrained themselves and tried their best to look at the big picture. Although Su Zimo injured Kong Han, he clearly left some leeway and did not take advantage of the situation to pursue. Lin Luo had only managed to subdue Kong Han, and none of the surrounding Imperial Army soldiers had died. But now, Heaven Immortal Baiyu's aggressiveness made Su Zimo increasingly impatient. "Don't push your luck." Su Zimo spoke again, his voice low and cold. "Ha ha ha ha." Su Zimo's words caused the surrounding crowd to burst into laughter. Am I hearing things? This rank 5 Celestial Immortal is actually threatening Celestial Immortal White Feather? After all, he was forced into a corner and became delirious. He began to talk nonsense. Because of these words, the originally tense atmosphere became much more relaxed after a wave of mockery and ridicule. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, also sneered. He curled his lips and said, "This Taoist companion of yours is not only bold, but also arrogant. She really doesn't know how to write the word death. Take care of yourself first." The sword in Lin Luo's hand trembled as he shouted. On the battlefield, upon hearing Su Zimo's threat, Celestial Immortal White Feather roared with laughter. "You dog, I'm going overboard. What can you do to me?" Su Zimo's gaze turned cold. He suddenly came to a halt, then furiously circulated his divine sense, forming a divine ability with both hands as he pointed towards Celestial Immortal White Feather. "Fleeting youth." Su Zimo softly spat out 4 words. A powerful divine ability instantly came crashing down upon Celestial Immortal White Feather. Celestial Immortal White Feather frowned with a solemn expression. Time divine ability? To be able to become the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City, be it in terms of talent, combat strength, or knowledge, he naturally far surpassed others. After Su Zimo's peerless divine ability was unleashed, Celestial Immortal White Feather could sense the power contained within fleeting youth. He did not dare to be careless. Any time-related divine ability was extremely powerful and could not be underestimated. Ascension to immortality. Celestial Immortal White Feather made a prompt decision and released his trump card as well. The white feathers on his body fell off one after another, rapidly transforming into wisps of immortal chi that continuously gathered and circled around him, as though they were going to bring him up to the heavens. Normally speaking, fleeting youth was only a peerless divine ability. Most peerless divine abilities, including ascension to immortality, were enough to resist and dissipate the power of time within. However, just as fleeting youth and ascension to immortality were fighting against each other, a strange sound of a drum suddenly sounded in Celestial Immortal White Feather's ears. The sound of the drum was not very loud and shocking. Instead, it sounded long and drawn out, and even carried a hint of old age and a lifeless aura. "This is..." Celestial Immortal White Feather was stunned. Immediately after, he felt his lifespan rapidly depleting at an unimaginable speed. Celestial Immortal White Feather's eyes were filled with endless fear and shock. Boom, boom, boom. Celestial Immortal White Feather released another peerless divine ability. Immediately after, he used a mystic art. He tore apart a talisman on his body and released a sound domain mystic art. In that instant, Celestial Immortal White Feather released almost all of his trump cards. The surrounding cultivators were stunned as they watched Celestial Immortal White Feather stand on the spot in shock. He seemed to have suffered a huge shock and released many trump cards as though he had gone crazy. But soon, the expressions of the cultivators gradually changed. In midair, Celestial Immortal White Feather panted heavily. The fear in his eyes and the panic on his face had yet to dissipate. The power of that peerless divine ability had finally dissipated. The mysterious and distant sound of the drum had completely disappeared as well. The danger was resolved. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather felt a sense of joy, as though he had escaped death. He could guarantee that just now, if he had reacted a little slower, he would have been a corpse by now. What a terrifying divine ability! He had to release so many trump cards before he was able to neutralize it. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's heart turned cold as he raised his head instinctively and looked towards Su Zimo. Strangely, the green-robed scholar did not continue attacking him. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at him with an indifferent expression. Fufu, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather forced out a laugh. That's your final trump card, right? But unfortunately, I still managed to block it. If that's all you've got, it'll be your death next. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather perked up once more and said with a murderous aura. Even though he said that, he had a feeling that something was wrong with his body. Su Zimo remained motionless as a look of mockery flashed through his eyes. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's heart sank. He suddenly realized that the surroundings were abnormally quiet, as though everyone had gone silent. He looked over instinctively. Countless cultivators were looking at him with strange gazes. It was as though pity, fear. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather took a deep breath and suddenly realized that his blood chi was much weaker than before. His essence chi and spirit were much weaker. Initially, he thought that just now, he had expended too much energy in the battle. But now something seemed off. A gentle breeze blew past Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's forehead, and a strand of her hair was gently brushing past her eyes. It was a strand of gray hair. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather looked at his hands. The skin on his palms was no longer fair and smooth. Instead, it was rough and dark, filled with fine wrinkles. My lifespan, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather murmured softly as his eyes widened. He was originally 150,000 years old. For a Celestial Immortal with a lifespan of 300,000 years, he was at his peak. But now, he only had 20,000 years of lifespan left. In an instant, his youth was gone. The person standing in midair was no longer the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City, but an old man in his twilight years. Chapter 24-22. The long street was silent. Everyone looked at Celestial Immortal Baiyu with a hint of pity in their eyes. Just a moment ago, this Stage 9 Celestial Immortal was still the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. But in the blink of an eye, he had become an old man in his twilight years. The sharpness on his body was no longer there, and he stood in the air in a daze. Celestial Immortal Baiyu did not die, but everyone knew that he was no longer the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City, and he was no longer qualified to enter the heaven ranking. All the glory of this genius had vanished into thin air in the blink of an eye. Such a blow completely defeated Celestial Immortal Baiyu. Many people looked at Su Zimo, unable to hide the shock on their faces. This seemingly weak scholar, a Stage 5 Celestial Immortal, had just released a peerless divine ability and pulled Celestial Immortal Baiyu down from his pedestal. Who was this person? With such talent, he should not be a nobody. Why had they never heard of him before? In midair, Su Zimo was also recalling the process of releasing Fleeting Youth just now. Normally speaking, Fleeting Youth was not enough to threaten Celestial Immortal Baiyu. However, in the Clear Jade book, which was Clear Jade Heaven, he had experienced the baptism of the morning bell and evening drum. The sound of the evening drum and Fleeting Youth clearly had something in common in terms of Taoist techniques. Therefore, over the past few days, Su Zimo had been trying to fuse the sound of the evening drum into Fleeting Youth. However, the fusion of the two divine abilities was not perfect. After the power of Fleeting Youth descended, the sound of the evening drum sounded. Even so, the combination of the two divine abilities produced an extremely terrifying lethality. Celestial Immortal Baiyu's reaction was slightly slower, and he lost more than 100,000 years of his lifespan. He then unleashed a few more divine abilities and secret arts, and only then did he manage to completely neutralize the power of Fleeting Youth. According to Su Zimo's speculation, if the two divine abilities could perfectly fuse, the power of Fleeting Youth would rise to an unimaginable level. It might even reach the level of a peerless divine ability. At that time, no matter how many peerless divine abilities Celestial Immortal Baiyu released, He would not be able to withstand the impact of fleeting youth. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, felt a lingering fear in his heart. If this technique landed on his body, even if he had 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough. Su Zimo took a deep breath. Seeing that the situation had calmed down, he immediately took out the primordial spirit of the army vanquishing demon bandits from his storage bag. I have performed the soul-searching technique on this person. Whether he is black or white, I will have a public opinion. Everyone please be my witnesses. As Su Zimo spoke, black lines appeared from the ball of light in his hand and entered the bearded man's soul. Kong Han was nervous. If the bearded man's memories were exposed, the reputation of the Imperial Army would suffer a great blow. Just then, a huge wave of pressure enveloped the area. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down on a city, causing one's heart to tremble. This power, Su Zimo frowned. A true immortal. As though he sensed something, Su Zimo glanced at the primordial spirit in his hand instinctively. Indeed, due to the invasion of the aura, his soul-searching technique on the bearded man had failed. All sorts of accidents could happen during the soul-searching technique, and it could not be interfered with by external forces. Although the soul-searching technique failed, the essence spirit of the army vanquishing demon bandits was weak and his life aura was faintly discernible. There was no way he could survive. In the end, the secrets in that person's memories were not made public. All of a sudden, Su Zimo felt a chill run down his spine, as though he was being targeted by some terrifying expert with a prickle in his back. Unknowingly, a man in heavy armor had already arrived and stood behind Su Zimo with a cold expression and an indifferent gaze. "Greetings, Commander Jiang." The surrounding Imperial Army soldiers knelt down one after another and greeted one of the commanders of the Imperial Army of Langfeng City, Jiang Xianyu. Kong Han looked at Su Zimo with a mocking expression. In his opinion, Su Zimo was already a dead man. "You broke the order of the Immortal City and went against the Imperial Army on the streets. Your crimes are unforgivable." Jiang Xuanyou's gaze was cold as it swept past Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and the Mystic Mirror sect members. His voice was emotionless. "We're innocent." The Mystic Mirror sect members could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground, crying out for their innocence. Liang Yu also panicked and hurriedly explained, "Commander, this is a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with us." Then, he swallowed his saliva and pointed at Su Zimo and Lin Luo not far away. "It's them. They went against the Imperial Army. We didn't do anything from the beginning to the end." Lin Luo pursed her lips when she heard that. She was naturally disdainful of Liang Yu's reaction. However, she could also understand Liang Yu's actions under such pressure. Jiang Xuanyou's expression was indifferent and unmoved. The Mystic Mirror sect naturally has to bear the consequences of their crimes. At that moment, Su Zimo calmly took out a sect token from his storage bag and slowly hung it on his waist. Jiang Xuanyou's gaze swept across and could not help but frown. "Heaven and Earth Academy?" Jiang Xianyu murmured softly. Some heaven immortals might not recognize the symbol of Heaven and Earth Academy, but as a perfected immortal and the commander of Langfeng City, he naturally knew about Heaven and Earth Academy. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, "I'm Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy from the Divine Firmament Immortal region. This is indeed a misunderstanding. This General Kong slandered us as demonic bandits, which led to the conflict. Heaven Immortal Bai Yu and I were only sparring at the same cultivation level. As a perfected immortal, does Commander Jiang also want to interfere in this matter?" Jiang Xianyu cursed in his heart. Although Heaven and Earth Academy was not in the Jade Firmament Immortal region, it was one of the 4 major sects of the Divine Firmament Immortal region. It was a sky-level sect with a strong foundation. This green-robed scholar in front of him had revealed his identity. He should be an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. It was impossible for him to be a demonic bandit. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, as a perfected immortal, he naturally could not make a move without sufficient reason. Otherwise, it would definitely attract countless criticism. Jiang Xianyu was inwardly annoyed. If he had known this would happen, just now, he would have killed this kid the moment he appeared, and not given him a chance to speak. Jiang Xuanyou's gaze turned and landed on Lin Luo, who was not far away. His heart stirred, and he said coldly, "Since you're a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy, I won't bicker with you first. However, this woman kidnapped my general. She deserves to die. She's also a disciple of my academy." Su Zimo knew that Lin Luo was unwilling to reveal her identity, so he hurriedly said, "Is that so?" Jiang Xianyu sneered slightly. "Take out your sect token and let me see it." Lin Luo looked troubled. She did not have the Heaven and Earth Academy's sect token. Just as she was hesitating, Jiang Xuanyu's killing intent surged. In an instant, he arrived beside Lin Luo and hollered, "Be *tisich, hand over your life." Swoosh! Jiang Xianyu attacked. A saber light flashed and arrived in an instant. This was a perfected immortal expert's attack. It was so fast that even Su Zimo could not react in time. All of a sudden, Lin Luo took a step to the side. 9 mysterious square diagrams seemed to appear beneath her feet, and she narrowly avoided the saber. A strand of black hair drifted down along with the saber light. It was a hair's breadth away from death. Lin Luo had escaped from death. Her face was pale from fright. This was a perfected immortal expert's attack. It was more like a sneak attack. If not for the movement technique that her mother had taught her, she would have been a corpse just now. After Jiang Xuanyu's saber landed, he did not continue to pursue. Instead, he stared at Lin Luo's feet and frowned. Green Firmament Immortal Domains Lin Family. Chapter 24-23. Jiang Xianyu was secretly shocked. The technique that the young girl had just used was obviously the 9 palace subtle steps. According to legend, this movement technique came from an ancient great emperor. Every step was carefully calculated and contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. This movement technique was not fast, and the steps were not big either. It was just a few millimeters, but one could find a fleeting chance of survival. Moreover, when this movement technique was used, there was no hint of panic or haste. Instead, it looked like she was taking a leisurely stroll. It was also said that the great emperor, who created this movement technique, was a woman. The 9 palace subtle steps had been lost for many years, but it had reappeared in the heaven realm in this life, and was controlled by a celestial king from the green firmament celestial realm. Others had no chance to cultivate it at all. "Who is Celestial King Ling Long to you?" Jiang Xianyu asked with a frown. "It's none of your business." Lin Luo had just walked through the gates of hell, and was still traumatized. Naturally, he retorted in annoyance. Jiang Xianyu snorted, but did not dare to act rashly. If this girl was related to Celestial King Ling Long, her status would be much more honorable than that of an inner disciple of the Qinquan Academy. "Commander Jiang, you can leave now." At this moment another voice sounded. Hearing this voice, Jiang Xuanyu's body shook, as if he was afraid. He hurriedly knelt in the direction of the voice and bowed. "Greetings, City Lord." Not far away in the sky, a huge red-crowned crane sped over. On the crane's back, a long-haired man stood with his hands behind his back. He was handsome, and had an extraordinary temperament. This man's hair ornaments, chest, and waist were all jade ornaments. He looked extraordinary. Su Zimo was also sizing him up. This man didn't look old, but he was already sitting in the position of City Lord. Although this man was also a true immortal, his realm and aura were obviously far superior to Jiang Xuanyu's. There were only 5 celestial cities in the entire Jade Firmament celestial realm. To be able to become the City Lord of one of the celestial cities and control a group of true immortals, one could imagine how powerful this man was. "He is Song Xian, the City Lord of Langfeng City," Lin Luo said to Su Zimo via divine sense. Su Zimo asked, "Do you know him?" Lin Luo said, "I've met him once. He once fought with my brother, and it was a draw. He's one of my brother's rivals on the True Immortal ranking list during the 9 Firmaments Immortal Region meeting." Su Zimo nodded secretly. "Little sister Lin Luo, why didn't you tell me in advance that you would be coming?" Song Xian stood on the red-crowned crane and shook his head slightly. "Fortunately, you're not injured. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain to your brother if I met him again." Song Xian looked at Lin Luo somewhat reproachfully, but his tone was rather gentle, like a spring breeze. Lin Luo also smiled sweetly and said, I'm just passing by Langfeng City and will leave soon. It's the Feast of Peaches, and the geniuses of the 5 cities are gathering here. Senior Brother Song, as the city lord, you must be very busy, so I didn't disturb you at your residence. I just didn't expect that there would be a misunderstanding as soon as I entered the city, and it still alarmed you. As the daughter of the human emperor, Lin Luo's reply was quite polite. Just now, the conflict had been a matter of life and death, but she just played it down and didn't intend to pursue it. Song Xian's gaze fell on Jiang Xianyu, Kong Han, and the others. His face darkened slightly, and he said softly, "Do you know your mistakes?" Kong Han opened his mouth, wanting to argue. On the other side, Jiang Xianyu was extremely decisive. He directly bowed and said, "I know my mistakes. Please punish me, City Lord." Kong Han also hurriedly knelt down, not daring to say a word. "It's good that you know your mistakes." Song Xian nodded slightly and said, "Fortunately, little sister Lin Luo is unharmed. You didn't make a big mistake. Otherwise, even your lives wouldn't be enough to pay for it." "Senior Brother Song, you're exaggerating," Lin Luo said with a smile. Su Zimo watched coldly from the sidelines and didn't say a word. Although the city lord of Langfeng City's words were harsh and pleasant, he was actually just punishing them lightly, and punishing them with 3 cups of wine. The people of the Mystic Mirror sect were already dumbfounded. In this period of time, they had experienced unimaginable ups and downs, constantly lingering on the edge of life and death. It wasn't easy for Liang Yu to make up his mind to cut ties with Su Zimo and Lin Luo. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, the 2 of them seemed to have become the guests of honor of the city lord of Langfeng City. Song Xian's gaze swept and landed on Heaven Immortal Bai Yu, who was in a daze and depressed. He frowned subconsciously. He swept a glance and almost didn't recognize this person. "What's wrong with him?" Song Xian asked in a deep voice. As the number 1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, Heaven Immortal Bai Yu was also someone that he thought highly of. This time, he had the chance to fight for a spot in the top 3 of the Heaven ranking. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely be able to step into the True One realm and become a perfected immortal. How did he end up in such a state with his lifespan almost exhausted? "It's him." Kong Han hurriedly jumped out and pointed at the Su Zimo not far away. "He's the one who attacked just now and injured fellow Taoist Bai Yu to such a state." Song Xian looked at Su Zimo with a calm expression and said indifferently, "So it's a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. What great means." Song Xian's attitude towards Su Zimo was clearly different from Lin Luo. It was much colder. "City Lord, this matter?" Kong Han probed. Lin Luo saw that the atmosphere was a little off and hurriedly said, "Just now, Su Zimo and Heaven Immortal Bai Yu are fighting fairly. No one else is interfering." "Yes." Song Xian nodded and said in a deep voice, "Since it's a fair fight, Bai Yu is the one who's inferior. She can't blame anyone else for ending up in such a state." Given his status, an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy was nothing to him. Even if he killed the other party, there wouldn't be much trouble. However, if he were to make a move against a level 5 heavenly immortal in public without any reason, he would definitely be criticized by others. "The 2 of you follow me." Song Xian beckoned with his hand. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo and nodded slightly. Now that their identities were exposed, there was naturally no need for them to hide anymore. In a flash, the 2 of them soared into the air and stood on the back of the gigantic crane. Song Xian tapped gently with his feet, and the crane flapped its wings and sped away. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a speck of light and vanished from everyone's sights. Now that the dust had settled, the cultivators on the long street gradually dispersed as well. Liang Yu was filled with regret. If he had not cut off the seats with Su Zimo earlier on, he might have had a chance to follow the city lord of Langfeng City. Right then, the Imperial Army that was initially around surrounded them once more. The leader was Kong Han. Liang Yu was shocked and asked hurriedly, "Colonel Kong Han, what are you doing?" "Just now it's all a misunderstanding. We're not fiend bandits." "Humph," Kong Han sneered. "It's a misunderstanding with those 2, but not with you guys. Capture them, and bring them back to the dungeon. I want to interrogate them personally." This time round, he was filled with anger and almost died in the hands of Lin Luo. He was even more frustrated that he had nowhere to vent. Furthermore, the people of Mystic Mirror sect had most likely guessed that they were colluding with the fiend bandits. All the more he couldn't let them leave. Chapter 24-24. This red-crowned crane was very fast. In less than a quarter of an hour, it carried the three of them to the top of a grand palace and quickly descended. They were surrounded by a garden with winding stone paths, lush ancient trees, green bamboos, and vines. Everywhere they looked, life was abundant and the scenery was pleasant. Song Xian led the two of them through the garden. They could see rockery courtyards everywhere, gurgling water, and fish with golden scales jumping out of the lake from time to time. It was obviously not ordinary. Soon, the three of them came to a courtyard. Song Xian smiled and said, "It's the Feast of Peaches now. It's a rare event in the Jade Heaven celestial realm. There will be a competition for the Heaven list, and it's inevitable that geniuses and monsters will fight. You two came at the right time. Why don't you rest here for a few days?" Su Zimo and Lin Luo looked at each other. They could tell what the other was thinking and couldn't help but frown. Song Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry, this is the City Lord's mansion. There won't be any danger. You can rest assured." Lin Luo smiled and said, "Thank you for your kindness, senior brother Song. However, we have other things to do, and would like to leave through the transmission formation of Langfeng City." "Why are you in such a hurry?" Song Xian said. "If you two leave today, it'll seem like I'm neglecting you and not treating you well." After a pause, Song Xian looked at Lin Luo and said, "Moreover, I've cultivated a rare variant of the blood peach tree over the years. The blood peach is about to ripen soon. Although it's not as good as the peach of immortality in the Jade Heaven Palace, it's still a rare top-grade peach. I'd like to invite Brother Lin Lei to taste it. After the Feast of Peaches, you and your sister can leave together." Lin Luo's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly asked, "Is my brother coming too?" Song Xian said, "I've already sent out the invitation. It should be here soon." Lin Luo lowered her head slightly and hesitated. Deep in her heart, she really wanted to return to the Azure Firmament celestial realm as soon as possible. However, she could not refuse Song Xian's kindness. "All right." Lin Luo hesitated for a long time before reluctantly agreeing. Su Zimo remained silent at the side. He felt that there was something wrong with this Langfeng City's city lord, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Su Zimo remained calm and collected. Under Song Xian's arrangement, he and Lin Luo temporarily settled down here. Song Xian helped Su Zimo, and Li Wuyo settle down, then left on the red-crowned crane. He took out a few message talismans from his storage pouch and sent them out. After pondering for a moment, Song Xian made his move. He arrived at the teleportation formation at the northeast corner of the City Lord's mansion and activated it, disappearing from Langfeng City. The white jade capital in the sky had 5 cities and 12 buildings. The so-called 12 buildings were not real pavilions, but more like magnificent palaces. Therefore, some people called them the 12 palaces. On this day, the teleportation formation in the 7th palace flickered, and a figure appeared. It was Song Xian of Langfeng City. "Greetings, City Lord?" The guards here bowed when they saw Song Xian. One of them asked, "City Lord, what are you here for?" "I want to pay my respects to Master," Song Xian said in a deep voice. One of the guards replied, "The palace lord is in seclusion, and we dare not disturb him. City Lord, please. I have an important matter." Song Xian looked impatient. He waved his hand and interrupted him. "Take me into the palace. I will take responsibility if anything happens." The guards looked at each other, and one of them led Song Xian to the depths of the 7th palace. After a long time, in the depths of the 7th palace, a hoarse voice sounded. "What happened that made you disturb Master's seclusion? Please forgive me, Master." Song Xian knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, "The daughter of the warlord, Lin Luo, and another celestial immortal are now in Langfeng City. I have made the decision to keep them here." "Oh," the palace lord of the 7th palace murmured, as if he thought of something. "Continue," Song Xian said. "The warlord is seriously injured, and is now a cripple." Over the years, the warlord kingdom of the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm has been unstable, with internal and external troubles. Now there is only Immortal King Linglong, and she can't do anything alone. She can only protect the warlord every day, and only by guarding the warlord kingdom can she barely keep it from falling. You are right, the palace lord of the seventh palace said. Thousands of years ago, for some reason, Linglong suddenly left the warlord kingdom for a period of time. Although it was not long, the warlord kingdom broke out in rebellion, and foreign enemies invaded, and it almost fell apart. Fortunately, Linglong rushed back in the end to quell the rebellion and expel the strong enemies. Even so, after this battle, the warring state's kingdom suffered a great loss and suffered heavy losses. Lin Zhan and Linglong's right-hand men also died in this battle. After a pause, the palace lord of the seventh palace laughed and said, "Hee hee." After that, Linglong never left the warlord kingdom palace. Song Xian also laughed and said, "So, as long as we can make Immortal King Linglong leave the warlord kingdom palace again, the warlord kingdom will definitely fall." Yes, the palace lord of the seventh palace said. In the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm, the other immortal kingdoms have been eyeing the warlord kingdom covetously for a long time, and they want to divide it up. This is indeed a good opportunity. As long as I talk to those immortal kings, we can exchange this for a lot of benefits. Song Xian said, "That's right. The warlord and immortal king Linglong were born lowly, and the concept of equality in the upper realm and the lower realm should have been destroyed long ago. Even within the warlord kingdom, there are many experts who oppose them. What are your plans?" The palace lord of the seventh palace asked. Song Xian pondered and said, "I've already left Lin Luo in Langfeng City and sent people to guard her. She has no chance to leave at all. In a while, I'll send a message to Lin Lei. If he knows that his sister is with me, he will definitely come. At that time, I'll find an excuse to keep the siblings here. I don't believe that Immortal King Linglong will leave them in the lurch. As long as Immortal King Linglong appears in Langfeng City, the major forces in the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm will attack the Warlord Kingdom. At that time, they will join forces with the experts of the Warlord Kingdom, and the Warlord Kingdom will definitely be eliminated. However, if Immortal Linglong appears in Langfeng City..." At this point, Song Xian paused for a moment. "Don't worry," the palace lord of the seventh palace said faintly. "If an immortal king comes to Langfeng City, I will be the first to sense it. At that time, when the few of us join forces, Immortal Linglong won't be able to escape, even if she has the 9 palace subtle steps." "Master is wise," Song Xian hurriedly flattered. "That's a good plan," the palace lord of the seventh palace said. "Go back and make the arrangements. I will also inform the immortal kings in the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm, and wait for the opportunity to take action. Remember, there can be no mistakes in this matter. Do it well. If you succeed, it will be a great merit." Song Xian was excited and full of confidence. He said firmly, "Master, don't worry. I will consider every aspect and kill all variables." "Oh right," the palace lord of the seventh palace suddenly asked. "You just said that there is another person beside Lin Luo." "He is." Song Xian didn't care and said, "This person is a disciple of the Divine Firmament Academy. He is only a stage 5 heaven immortal, and can't cause any trouble. There is nothing to worry about." That's good. Chapter 24-25. Langfeng City, City Lord's Residence. In a room in a courtyard, Su Zimo and Lin Luo were resting with their eyes closed. However, there was a hint of worry in Lin Luo's eyes, and she seemed a little uneasy. Not long after, Su Zimo suddenly opened his eyes and said softly, "Something's not right. The city lord seems to be too polite to us." Lin Luo also turned to look, and seemed to have realized something. "That's true. I've only met him once, and I've never heard Big Brother mention anything about us being friends. Let's go out and take a look," Su Zimo said and got up to open the door. Lin Luo followed quickly. The two of them had just walked out of the room when they sensed that there were many cultivators guarding the periphery of the courtyard. When they reached the entrance of the courtyard, Su Zimo saw a man in armor not far away with his back facing them, and his arms crossed. That person turned around slowly. It was one of the commanders of Langfeng City, Jiang Xianyu. "Where are the two of you going?" Jiang Xianyu asked. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he replied casually, "It's my first time in Langfeng City, so I'm just walking around." "That's how it should be." Jiang Xianyu nodded, and did not say anything else. However, Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not walk far before they realized that Jiang Xianyu was following closely behind them with a group of imperial guards. After a while, Su Zimo suddenly stopped and turned around. He smiled at Jiang Xianyu and said, "Commander Jiang, you have an important position. There's no need to pay attention to us. The two of us are just looking around." Jiang Xianyu said, "The city lord has instructed that the two of you are guests of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, and that I'll bring my men to protect the two of you. There can't be any more mishaps." Lin Luo sneered in her heart and could not help but say, "What danger can there be in Langfeng City? Nothing is absolute. Just in case." Jiang Xianyu said expressionlessly. It did not seem like he was protecting them but guarding them. Su Zimo and Wang Chong knew this, but they couldn't say anything. Even if they shed all pretense of cordiality on the spot, it would be useless. Jiang Xianyu was a true immortal. Even if the two of them joined forces, they would still be no match for him. Not to mention, there was a group of Imperial Army soldiers around them. Su Zimo and Wang Chong casually walked around Langfeng City. With Jiang Xianyu and the other Imperial Army soldiers guarding them, no one dared to approach them, and had long since avoided them. Under such circumstances, the two of them were not in the mood to stroll around, and returned to the courtyard early. What does Jiang Xianyu want to do? Lin Luo returned to her room. She was furious and couldn't help but say, "What kind of protection is this? He's clearly monitoring us. This is probably Song Xian's intention." Su Zimo closed his eyes and sensed for a long time. Then he said slowly, "Jiang Xianyu is not the only true immortal in the vicinity of this courtyard. There should be more than 10 of them." Although his divine sense could not detect these true immortals, Qinglian's 5 senses were sharp, and her spiritual sense was terrifying. She could vaguely sense a dozen of faintly discernible powerful auras. So many true immortals? Lin Luo was secretly shocked. Her expression was grave as she murmured softly, "What exactly does Song Xian want to do?" Su Zimo pondered and said, "More than 10 true immortals are guarding nearby. I'm afraid it's not as simple as monitoring. It's more like imprisonment." Imprisonment? Lin Luo's expression changed as she seemed to have thought of something. She hurriedly took out a message talisman from her storage bag and whispered, "I have to send a message to Big Brother, and tell him not to come." Although Lin Luo did not understand Song Xian's intention, she already knew that something was wrong, and wanted to stop Lin Lei from coming. "I'm afraid it's useless." Su Zimo shook his head slightly and said, "If Song Xian really wants to imprison us, he will naturally cut off your communication channel with the outside world." Just as expected, Lin Luo silently cast a spell, and tore the message talisman apart. The contents of the message talisman turned into a ball of light, and did not escape into the void. Instead, it hovered in the room. Before long, it dissipated as well. The communication failed. Lin Luo clenched her fists instinctively. She was worried and helpless, not knowing what to do for a moment. There must be some sort of restriction array formation set up around this courtyard that could prevent any information from being transmitted. There was no solution to this. Even if they left the courtyard, they would be under the surveillance of Jiang Xianyu and the other true immortals. Even if Lin Luo could take out a message talisman, it would be interrupted, and she would not be able to send a message out. Su Zimo, on the other hand, appeared rather calm. In his storage bag, he still had a teleportation jade badge that the Patriarch of the Academy had given him back then. This was his escape route, and what he was relying on. Even if Song Xian was present, as long as he crushed the teleportation jade badge, he would be able to leave this place with Lin Luo and return to Qingquan Academy, let alone a dozen true immortals. At that time, Lin Luo would be able to use the teleportation array of the Academy to return to the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. The teleportation jade badge was a life-saving measure. Unless it was a last resort, he would naturally not take it out immediately. Su Zimo was about to tell Lin Luo about this matter to comfort her, when Lin Luo suddenly stood up and said softly, "Let's go out and test it out again. We'll say that we're going to the teleportation array in the city, and see how Jiang Xianyu reacts." Lin Luo was still unwilling to believe this, and still held on to a glimmer of hope. "All right." Su Zimo nodded and left the room with Lin Luo, arriving at the entrance of the courtyard. Jiang Xianyu, who was not far away, immediately welcomed them. With a cold expression he asked, "Where are the two of you going?" "Where's the teleportation array in the city?" Lin Luo asked directly. A strange look appeared in Jiang Xuanyu's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. He said indifferently, "It's the Feast of Peaches now. The timing is special, so the teleportation array in the city is temporarily closed and cannot be used." Hearing this, Lin Luo no longer had any doubts in her heart. They had been placed under house arrest by Song Xian. Jiang Xianyu said, "During the Feast of Peaches, the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain's Heaven Roll competition, which occurs once every 100,000 years, is in full swing. If the two of you are interested, I can accompany you to take a look." "Not interested." Lin Luo replied coldly and said, "Let's go." After that, Su Zimo and Lin Luo turned around and walked towards the room. Jiang Xianyu looked at their backs with a mocking expression. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said loudly, "The city lord said that if the two of you are not interested in the Feast of Peaches, you can also take a seat at the Feast of Blood Peaches." All these years, the city lord has painstakingly cultivated a mutated blood peach tree. The fruit is about to ripen. If the two of you are interested, I can also take you to take a look. It's a rare opportunity. Humph. Lin Luo snorted coldly and walked ahead. She was upset and worried about her family. How could she be in the mood to visit the peach tree? However, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. He frowned and gradually stopped in his tracks. He narrowed his eyes slightly, and his expression was uncertain. No one knew what he was thinking. "What's wrong?" Lin Luo asked subconsciously when she saw Su Zimo's strange expression. Su Zimo ignored her and slowly turned around. He looked at Jiang Xianyu, who was not far away, and asked with a smile, "Commander Jiang, what's the blood peach tree you mentioned just now?" Jiang Xianyu did not think much of it and said, "This peach tree of peaches was originally a superior immortal seedling. After the city lord nourished it with the blood of the humanoid peach spirit, this peach tree of peaches was reborn and evolved into a mutated tree. It's no exaggeration to say that this blood peach tree is the only one in the heaven realm, and even the entire upper realm." Jiang Xianyu raised his head slightly and said proudly. He did not notice that Su Zimo's face gradually darkened. Chapter 24-26. Lin Luo was completely uninterested in the blood peach tree. However, seeing that Su Zimo's expression was not right, she did not say anything and just observed silently from the side. Su Zimo realized that he had lost his composure. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His expression quickly returned to normal. Although he had thought of a possibility, it had not been completely confirmed. Su Zimo asked, "Commander Jiang, just now, what is this human-shaped peach spirit that you mentioned? How did it make a peach tree sprout transform again?" Jiang Xianyu said, "Since ancient times, due to the unique characteristics of the peach tree race, there have been very few precedents of them being able to transform into human form. It has nothing to do with cultivation realm. However, no one knows what kind of opportunity this peach tree has obtained, or what kind of Tao it has inherited. It can actually transform into human form at will. Therefore, the city lord calls it the peach spirit." Lin Luo gradually came to her senses and frowned. She could not help but say, "This peach tree has already gained sentience, and can even transform into human form. It is no different from a human. Song Xian is using its blood to nourish and nurture other peach trees. Isn't that too cruel?" "Huh?" Jiang Xianyu chuckled and said with disdain, "This peach spirit has only ascended from the lower realm. Its status is lowly. The city lord is giving him this opportunity because he thinks highly of him. This is also the city lord's gift." Hearing this, Su Zimo no longer had any doubts in his heart. He had heard Song Xian mention the blood peach tree once before. At that time, he did not think much of it. Now that Jiang Xianyu mentioned it again, he thought of Momo. Momo had ascended long ago, even before her true self. However, all these years there had been no news. After all, the 9 heavens immortal domain and the entire heaven realm were too big. Moreover, the heaven realm was only one of the 3,000 realms. Su Zimo had once thought that Momo could be considered part of the demon race and could possibly ascend to the Great Wasteland domain. However, just now, he had suddenly thought of another possibility. There was an immortal peach tree in the Jade Heaven immortal domain that gathered the chi of heaven and earth. In this immortal domain, there were peach trees everywhere. Their attraction to Momo was even more obvious. The possibility of Momo ascending to the Jade Heaven immortal realm was the highest. Ascending from the lower realm is lowly? Lin Luo's expression turned cold. Jiang Xianyu raised his eyebrows slightly. He seemed to have just remembered that Lin Luo's parents had both ascended from the lower realm. He explained, I misspoke. The city lord used his blood to nourish the immortality peach seedling. His identity in the lower realm was only one of the reasons. Most importantly, it's because this peach spirit belongs to the devil domain. Someone from the devil domain. Lin Luo frowned. Jiang Xianyu said, in recent years, a true devil called Araki Takashi has risen to prominence in the devil domain. Have you heard of him? I've heard of it. Lin Luo nodded. 1,000 years ago, the news of the battle in the devil domain had spread throughout the heaven domain. However, almost no one believed the rumors of 10 heavenly tribulations, or the fact that one person had single-handedly destroyed an army of 1,000,000 demons and killed the 4 true devils of the true devil ranking, including the supreme true devil. It sounded too exaggerated and exceeded the common knowledge of the heaven domain. When the emperors of old reached the true self realm, they would attract 9 heavenly tribulations. That was already the limit. How could there be a 10th heavenly tribulation? The cultivators discussed it for a while before throwing it to the back of their minds. Jiang Xianyu continued. That peach spirit personally admitted that he came from the same place as Araki Takashi and was once Araki Takashi's disciple. Since ancient times, immortals and demons have been at odds. The city lord only used his blood to deal with the disciple of a true devil. He was already merciful by not taking his life. Su Zimo, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly asked, where's the blood peach tree? Why are you interested? Jiang Xianyu said, not today. The blood peach banquet has already ended. I'll take you two to take a look tomorrow. Okay. Su Zimo replied and turned to leave. When he returned to his room, his expression was cold, and his eyes were surging with a strong killing intent that was about to burst out. Lin Luo was shocked when she saw Su Zimo's expression. She had never seen Su Zimo reveal such a terrifying killing intent. Lin Luo thought for a while and asked tentatively, why, do you know that peach spirit? Yes. Su Zimo replied and did not explain further. He went to the bed and sat cross-legged, closing his eyes in deep in thought. He had originally planned to take Lin Luo with him and use the teleportation jade token given to him by the patriarch of the academy to leave this place if the situation was not right. But now, since he knew that Momo was imprisoned and was suffering great torture, he could not just take Lin Luo with him. However, Song Xian would host the Blood Peach banquet tomorrow, and there would definitely be many perfected immortals present. Even if he could see Momo, it would be difficult for him to rescue Momo. Not to mention, he would leave with Lin Luo and Momo under the gaze of Song Xian and the other perfected immortals. Qinglian's true body was only a level 5 heaven immortal, and her strength was limited in this situation. Furthermore, not only did he have to rescue Momo, he also had to settle the score for Momo. The situation here could only be resolved if Wu Dao's true body came out. Normally speaking, the two true bodies cultivated separately and did not interfere with each other. Although Qinglian's true body had encountered countless dangers since ascending, she had never thought of alarming Wu Dao's true body. However, this matter involved Momo and was of great importance. Su Zimo could not care less and directly summoned Wu Dao's true body who was far away in the demon territory. Demon territory, Heaven Baron sect. In the secret cultivation chamber, Wu Dao's true body suddenly opened his eyes. Divine light burst forth from his eyes, and quickly receded, returning to normal. Something happened to Momo? Wu Dao's true body got up and pushed the door open. All these years, he had been forging the true Wu Dao body, and was at a critical moment in seclusion. His true Wu Dao body was about to reach greater mastery. However, after receiving this news, Wu Dao's true body did not hesitate, and gave up the opportunity to break through, and came out of seclusion. Momo's position in his heart was self-evident. On that night many years ago, Su Zimo was not the only one who stepped into cultivation when Daiyu passed down the Dao technique. Momo also inherited the Dao technique, and merged with Shui Feng's soul to become psychic. To him, Momo was not only an old friend of Heaven Baron sect, but also a family member who had witnessed him step into cultivation, and accompanied him until he finally ascended. Su Zimo was not willing to let Momo suffer any harm. "Master, what's the matter?" At the door of the secret cultivation chamber, Skywolf was stimulated by the killing intent on Wu Dao's true body, and instantly woke up and asked subconsciously. Wu Dao's true body slightly glanced in the direction of Feng Santian's secret cultivation chamber. He pondered for a while, and did not wake him up. According to the news sent by Qinglian's true body, although there were many true immortals in Langfeng City, there were no immortal kings. If Feng Cantian followed, and erupted with immortal king-level power, it was very likely to alarm the immortal king experts in the 12 palaces. At that time, the situation would be even more difficult to control. "I'm going out," Wu Dao's true body said, and sped off into the distance. Not long after, he came to the teleportation formation of the Heaven Baron sect, and activated it. Soon, he arrived at the border between the Demon Domain and the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The teleportation formations between the 9 Firmament Immortal Domains were interconnected. As long as one had some sect tokens, imprints, and divine sense, one could freely teleport. Wu Dao's true body came from the Demon Domain, and could not directly descend to the teleportation formation in Langfeng City. He could only come here indirectly, and then set off for Langfeng City. Chapter 24-27. In the city lord's residence, Su Zimo and Lin Luo were both occupied with their own thoughts, and did not speak for the entire night. The next morning, footsteps could be heard outside the door. Su Zimo and Lin Luo exchanged glances before pushing the door open. Standing at the door was Jiang Xianyu, and a group of Imperial Army guards under him. "Please follow me," Jiang Xianyu said, and led the way. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind. After walking for a while in the city lord's residence, they arrived at a huge palace. The palace was a little strange. It was surrounded on all sides, and was hollow in the middle. From the outside, one could see the tip of a Saturn peach tree in the middle of the palace. Under Jiang Xuanyu's lead, Su Zimo and Lin Luo stepped into the main hall. The main hall was bustling with noise and excitement. At a glance, there were thousands of cultivators gathered here, and they were discussing fervently. Most importantly, the auras of these thousands of cultivators were powerful, and they were all perfected immortals. Song Xian had invited most of the perfected immortals in the 5 cities for the Blood Peach Banquet, and it was a grand occasion. With thousands of perfected immortals in the main hall, even if they did nothing, they would form an invisible and powerful aura. If heavenly immortals were here, they would inevitably feel guilty and fearful. The heavenly immortal Imperial Army guards behind Jiang Xianyu did not dare to step forward at all, and they looked fearful. Jiang Xianyu sneered in his heart, and looked at Su Zimo and Lin Luo behind him, wanting to see them make a fool of themselves. However, the outcome disappointed him greatly. Lin Luo had a calm expression. This young girl did not seem to be intimidated by such a formation. Jiang Xianyu thought about it. Lin Luo was the daughter of an immortal king after all, and she had been by his side for many years. Naturally, she was knowledgeable and her Dao heart was strong. It was understandable. What puzzled him was why Su Zimo was so calm and composed as well. Although this kid came from Heaven and Earth Academy, He was only a level 5 heavenly immortal, an outer court disciple. How could he deal with such a situation? At this moment, many cultivators were gathered at the side of the hall, and they were looking at the tall and thick immortal peach tree at the center of the hall, while pointing and discussing animatedly with excited expressions. At the front of the crowd stood 5 people. One of them was the city lord of Langfeng City, Song Xian. Jiang Xianyu led Su Zimo and Lin Luo in that direction. Through the crowd, they could see the peaches on the peach tree that were covered in blood. They swayed slightly and looked extremely strange. I have the honor of tasting a xenogenic blood peach. Thank you, Brother Song. Among the 5, the man on the far left wore a long blue robe. His long hair draped over his shoulders, and he held a jade folding fan in his hand. Sure, Song Xian said. Naturally, I wouldn't monopolize such a worldly variant. The first thing I thought of was the 4 of you. The other 4 smiled and expressed their thanks. Lin Luo sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo with her consciousness. The other 4 are the city lords of the remaining 4 cities in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The man on the far left is the city lord of Chonghua City, known as Young Master Lantian. The tall one on his right is the city lord of Hanging Cattail City, Hongshan. The one in the middle is Song Xian, and the woman on his right is the city lord of Bright Candle City, Fairy Nanyang. The skinny man on the far right is the city lord of Heaven Wall City, Guxiao. Su Zimo nodded secretly. If he was not mistaken, these 5 city lords should be the 5 strongest true immortals in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. According to their positions, Song Xian should be the leader of the 5. The 5 city lords of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain had gathered. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind Jiang Xianyu. They passed through the crowd of true immortals and continued forward. The closer they got, the clearer they could see. Su Zimo's gaze went past the 5 city lords. In the corner of the hall, there was a stone pillar. There was a skinny figure tied up by chains, leaning against the stone pillar. Although the figure had its head lowered, and its messy hair covered most of its face, Su Zimo could still recognize it at a glance. It was Momo. Momo looked even skinnier than when he was in the lower realm. He was like a bag of bones, and his exposed skin was pale without any color. Even the chains tied to his body were thicker than his arm. It was hard to imagine how much torture and pain he had endured all these years. Momo was different from all the other cultivators in the world. Up till now, Momo's hands had not been stained with any blood. Momo had fought and killed with others. In fact, he had even devoured large amounts of life essence and blood to cultivate. However, he had never killed any living being. Regardless of whether the other party was good or evil, immortal or fiend, Momo had never killed them. Among the thousands of living beings that could ascend from the lower realm, regardless of whether they were good or evil, who did not have blood in their hands, who did not have corpses beneath their feet. However, Momo himself was an anomaly. He had never killed, and his body was not tainted by karma. Even if someone released the Red Lotus karmic fire on Momo, it would not have any effect. Yet, such a pure child who could not bear to kill, and was not tainted by karma, was enduring such pain right now. Immediately after, Su Zimo saw another scene. He could not help but shudder as a murderous intent flashed through his eyes. The immortality peach tree in the middle of the hall extended slender branches that extended towards the stone pillar and pierced Momo's body. Every single branch was like a bloodthirsty worm that was devouring Momo's blood in large mouthfuls. Momo had long fainted. At this moment, he was trapped on the stone pillar, and his body twitched uncontrollably. Even though Lin Luo did not know Momo, she could not bear to see this scene and frowned. Lin Luo sensed the killing intent from Su Zimo and was shocked. She grabbed Su Zimo's hand hurriedly and grabbed it forcefully. Su Zimo glanced sideways with bloodshot eyes. Lin Luo looked into his eyes and shook her head gently, indicating for him not to be rash. At this moment, if Su Zimo rushed forward and fought with his life on the line, he might not even be able to touch the corner of Song Xian's clothes before he was killed on the spot. With thousands of perfected immortal experts, any one of them could kill Su Zimo. Su Zimo closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. Qinglian's true body could not save Momo. She could only wait for Wu Dao's true body to arrive. After Wu Dao's true body entered the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain, he sped at full speed. After a while, he would reach Langfeng City. Although Su Zimo had restrained his killing intent, Song Xian's senses were extremely sharp. He seemed to have sensed something, and turned around to take a look. Seeing nothing, Song Xian turned around and waved his hand gently. He scolded, "That's enough. Don't suck this peach spirit to death." The immortality peach tree seemed to understand Song Xian's words. Although it was unwilling, it retracted its branches bit by bit. Instantly, a few bloody holes appeared on Momo's body. However, his physique was strong and his bloodline was extraordinary. Before long, the bloody holes had closed and stopped bleeding. Chapter 24-28. The city lord of Hanging Cattail City, Hong Shan, had a strange look in his eyes when he saw this scene. He realized that Momo was extraordinary and suddenly said, "Brother Song, this blood peach tree has already matured. This peach spirit is useless to you. Why don't you give it to me? Of course, I can exchange it with treasures. It depends on what Brother Song wants." Song Xian smiled and said, "Brother Hong Shan, this peach spirit is rare in the world. Its aptitude and talent are superior. It's a priceless treasure. I can't bear to give it away." Seeing Song Xian's firm tone, Hong Shan laughed and did not mention it again. Song Xian turned around and looked at the thousands of perfected immortals in the hall. He said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, the number of blood peaches is limited. I'll have to trouble you to share one with each of you. City Lord Song is too polite." "Thank you, City Lord," the thousands of perfected immortals said. Song Xian waved his hand. Young women carrying jade trays walked into the hall with light steps. On those trays, there were pieces of cut blood peaches. The surface of the fruit was covered with blood vessels. The juice was sticky and blood red, but it emitted a rich fragrance and vitality. The thousands of perfected immortals looked at the blood peaches on the trays with excited expressions. Even if it was a fruit from a normal immortal peach tree, it could extend a cultivator's lifespan, strengthen their physique, and strengthen their true essence. Mutated blood peaches like this would definitely be more effective for everyone. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he did not say a word. Lin Luo looked at the blood peaches and frowned. When she thought that these blood peaches were born from the blood of the thin boy, she felt disgusted. Deep disgust flashed in her eyes. "Don't worry." Song Xian looked at Hong Shan, young Master Lantian, and said with a smile, "With our friendship, the four of you will naturally be able to taste the complete blood peaches." "Thank you, Brother Song." Young Master Lantian waved his feather fan. Hong Shan licked his lips. He was already a little impatient. Fairy Nanyang said softly, "Today, we will definitely do our best to complete the task Brother Song has entrusted us with." Song Xian nodded in satisfaction. Then, he turned his gaze to Su Zimo and Lin Luo, who were walking towards them. "Fellow cultivators, allow me to introduce you. This young lady is the daughter of the Battle Emperor and Immortal Emperor Ling Long, Lin Lei's sister Lin Luo." Song Xian waved at Lin Luo with a smile. "So you have such a family background. No wonder you have such an extraordinary temperament." Fairy Nanyang faintly smiled and praised. "Yes, she's a beauty." Young Master Lan Tian nodded slightly. Hong Shan grinned widely and said, "So it's Lin Lei's sister. No wonder she looks a little familiar. Speaking of which, I kind of miss your brother." The remaining Heaven Wall City Lord, Guxiao, was silent and did not speak. He only raised his eyes to look at Lin Luo, with an indifferent expression. Although these city lords were praising her, Lin Luo could feel that these people were looking at her strangely. "Greetings to the 5 city lords." Lin Luo cupped her hands slightly. After all, they had not shed all pretense of cordiality. On the surface, she still had to be perfunctory. Fairy Nanyang's eyes moved and looked at Su Zimo's face. She asked, "Who is this little brother? Why do you look so unfamiliar?" "He is." Song Xian suddenly realized that he did not know Su Zimo's name. However, he was not interested in knowing. After pausing for a moment, he casually said, "Qianquan Academy's inner disciple." "Oh." Fairy Nanyang smiled and said, "No wonder you're like a bookworm. You have a cold face and look silly. You didn't even greet us." The city lords had already checked that Su Zimo's cultivation was only a stage 5 heaven immortal. Naturally, they did not put him in their eyes. Lin Luo could not help but ask, "My brother didn't come? He should be here soon." Song Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry. When your brother arrives, today's blood peach banquet will officially begin. Of course, you and your brother will have the chance to taste the mutated blood peaches that I carefully cultivated." "I don't want to eat." Lin Luo frowned. At this moment, there were already maids carrying a few complete blood peaches and delivering them to Song Xian and the rest. Hong Shan first took a blood peach and carelessly wiped it. He smiled and said, "Little girl, this kind of blood peach is a rare treasure in the world. If you eat one, it will probably help you advance by a small realm." "Then I won't eat it." Lin Luo's tone was decisive, and her face was filled with resistance. Young Master Lantian and the rest looked at each other and sneered. Hong Shan could not help but urge, "Brother Song, why don't we eat first? Don't wait for Lin Lei." Su Zimo, who had been silent at the side, suddenly opened his mouth and said faintly, "I advise you guys not to eat it either." This sudden voice sounded a little ear-piercing in this peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. The originally noisy hall gradually quieted down. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. The gazes of thousands of true immortals were all focused on Su Zimo, condensing an unimaginably huge pressure. "What did you say just now? I didn't hear it clearly." Hong Shan could not help but raise his eyebrows and stare at Su Zimo, asking in an unfriendly tone. Su Zimo was expressionless and said word by word, "You guys better not touch these blood peaches. Otherwise, you will suffer a great calamity." Young Master Lantian and the rest saw that Su Zimo was so calm, and suddenly felt guilty and uneasy. Song Xian was unmoved and asked indifferently, "What great calamity? I'd like to hear the details." Su Zimo said, "I heard that this blood peach tree was nurtured from the blood of that peach spirit, and that peach spirit is a boy by Araki Takashi's side." "So?" Song Xian continued asking. Su Zimo glared at Song Xian and said slowly, "Therefore, Araki Takashi will definitely not let this matter rest. He will definitely come and settle scores with you. No one who eats the blood peach will be able to escape." The hall fell into a short period of silence, and not a single sound could be heard. Then a thunderous roar of laughter broke out. "Ha ha ha ha! I'm dying of laughter. I was wondering what great calamity he was talking about when he said it so horribly." So he was talking about Araki Takashi of the Fiend Domain. What a fuss! That Araki Takashi bragged so much about 9 tribulations and 10 tribulations. But in fact, he has just stepped into the true One realm. That's right. Yen Zue and the others must have been killed by that demon king of heaven's wrath. It's impossible for them to die in his hands. In the hall, many true immortals were full of smiles as they discussed. Their expressions were relaxed, and they were completely relaxed. Hong Shan rolled his eyes and bit down on the blood peach. His mouth was filled with blood as he cursed. "What dog *T desolate marshal? He's just famous. If he dares to look for me, I'll slap him to death." Fairy Nanyang let out a sigh of relief. It was a false alarm. Thinking about how she was almost scared by this level 5 heavenly immortal, she couldn't help but laugh at herself. "Ha ha ha ha." Song Xian also laughed and looked at Su Zimo with ridicule. He shook his head and said, "Are all the disciples of Qingkuan Academy so naive and ignorant? Do you know where this is?" Without waiting for Su Zimo to answer, Song Xian shouted, "Under your feet is one of the 5 cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, Langfeng City. Now is the Feast of Immortality Peaches, and the Heavenless Competition. There are 5 city lords and thousands of true immortals gathered together. There are countless heavenly immortals. Even if Araki Takashi has the guts, he wouldn't dare to take half a step into Langfeng City." End of chapter. Chapter 24-29. Little scholar from Qingkuan Academy, let me tell you something. Fairy Nanyang chuckled and said, "Not to mention that Araki Takashi has just entered the true first realm. Since ancient times, not even the supreme true demons have dared to run wild in the hinterland of the 9 Clouds Immortal region. The lord of Gushio City suddenly said coldly, "Unless Araki Takashi wants to die." Right at this moment, a low and deep voice sounded from outside the hall. "If Araki Takashi from the demon region is willing to come to Langfeng City for the sake of a child, then he's a real man." Hearing this voice, Lin Luo's heart trembled. She was excited, but there was a mixture of joy and worry between her eyebrows. Everyone looked over towards the source of the voice, and they saw a tall and robust man walking over with large strides from outside the hall. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and every single step he took carried a magnanimous and heroic aura. If I'm not mistaken, this should be Lin Luo's brother Lin Lei, Suzimo thought. Sizzle. The man was dragging a pitch-black and heavy halberd. The sharp tip of the halberd streaked across the ground, causing sparks to fly everywhere. It made an ear-piercing sound. The man dragged the halberd over like this. Many true immortals in the hall were intimidated by this man's aura. They were frozen in place for a moment. Only Song Xian and the other 4 city lords looked normal. There was even a trace of pride and excitement in their eyes. "Brother!" Lin Luo shouted. She wanted to go forward, but she was suddenly suppressed by several powerful divine senses. She couldn't move. "Lin Lei, you're too late. We've been waiting for a long time." Hong Shan laughed loudly. Young Master Lan Tian waved his jade fan and said with a smile, "Brother Lin is even more elegant than before after we parted at the continent of the 9 clouds last time." "What are you doing?" Lin Lei noticed the movements of Song Xian and the others. His eyes narrowed and his face darkened as he asked slowly. Song Xian chuckled and said, "Lin Lei, I invited you to the Blood Peach banquet out of goodwill, but you rushed in with the black mysterious halberd. I want to ask, what do you want?" "Bring my sister home." Lin Lei's tone was resolute. It was as if metal and stone were striking each other, sonorous and powerful. "Brother, there's him too. Bring him along." As Lin Luo spoke, she turned her eyes, indicating that Lin Lei should also save Suzimo. Lin Lei glanced at Suzimo from the corner of his eye and frowned. He didn't even know if he could save Lin Luo this time, let alone adding another person. The siblings' thoughts were connected. Lin Luo seemed to see Lin Lei's hesitation and hurriedly said, He also came from the lower world and saved me." Lin Lei didn't say a word. He didn't agree or disagree, but he didn't think so. He just glanced around and saw that the cultivator called Suzimo was only a 5th stage immortal. With Lin Luo's means and the 9 palace subtle steps, why would she need a 5th stage immortal to save her? Lin Lei concluded that Lin Luo was lying. And Lin Luo was so nervous about this person that she didn't hesitate to lie to cover it up. What was her relationship with this person? Could it be? A thought flashed through Lin Lei's mind. He looked at Suzimo with a look of scrutiny and even resistance. This person looked very weak. His body and bloodline were relatively weak. His cultivation level wasn't high either. There was nothing special about him. In his opinion, this person was far from being good enough for his sister. Moreover, Lin Lei just now heard that Suzimo was threatening Song Xian and the others, saying that Araki Takashi from the demon domain would come, and that a disaster was imminent. This action might be out of justice, but it was too childish. Why would Araki Takashi from the demon domain come to Langfeng City of the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain for a Dao child? Even if Araki Takashi came, how could he be a threat to the perfected immortals in the hall, let alone an imminent disaster? This person's cultivation level wasn't high. He didn't have any abilities. He was bookish, impulsive, and childish. Lin Lei's first impression of Suzimo was very bad. Seeing that Lin Luo was so worried about this person, Lin Lei's impression of Suzimo dropped a little. "There's no hurry to go home." Fairy Nanyang smiled. "The blood peaches are ready. We're just waiting for you to come. It won't be too late to wait until the blood peach banquet is over." At the banquet, many perfected immortals had already started tasting the blood peaches. "What blood peach banquet? I'm not interested." Lin Lei replied coldly, staring at Song Xian and the others with an unfriendly expression. "Let my sister come here." "What?" Song Xian's face darkened. He narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "As the city lord of Langfeng City, I invited Brother Lin to a banquet with many perfected immortals from the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain. Does Brother Lin not plan to stay?" "Lin Lei, you're so arrogant. Do you really think there's no one in the Jade Heaven immortal domain? Gu Xiu shouted coldly, and threw the jade plate in his hand to the ground. It shattered with a bang. Many perfected immortals at the banquet stood up one after another, emitting powerful auras. They put their palms on their storage bags and stared at Lin Lei with unfriendly eyes. In an instant, the atmosphere in the main hall became tense. An unimaginably huge pressure fell upon Lin Lei's body. Lin Lei's expression did not change, but he gripped the black mysterious war halberd even tighter. The current situation was more serious and dangerous than he had imagined. If it was just Song Xian alone, he would naturally have nothing to fear. But the 5 city lords were gathered here. Once they joined forces, he would definitely be no match for them. Moreover, there were thousands of perfected immortals. He could not withstand such great pressure, and could only take a step back. Lin Lei took a deep breath and said, I can attend the Blood Peach banquet, but you have to let go of Lin Luo and let her come to me. That won't do. Song Xian laughed and said, if Brother Lin goes back on his words at the last minute, and takes out a transportation jade talisman, or something like that, and suddenly leaves with Sister Lin Luo, we won't be able to stop him. Lin Lei was annoyed in his heart. He had originally planned to tear up the transportation jade talisman, and return to the Qingxiao immortal realm with Lin Luo. He did not want to be entangled with Song Xian and the others. However, Song Xian and the others seemed to have seen through his intentions, and did not give him a chance at all. Lin Lei asked in a deep voice, when will your Blood Peach banquet end? That's hard to say. Song Xian laughed and said, that depends on Brother Lin. What do you mean? Lin Lei frowned and asked. Song Xian said leisurely, I heard that the War King was seriously injured and died. Immortal King Ling Long is guarding him. The Warring States Kingdom is in a precarious situation. I am also very worried. I have a suggestion that can help the Warring States Kingdom get through this crisis. Lin Lei just looked at Song Xian and said nothing. Song Xian said, I have a younger brother. He is still young, but he is already a stage 4 heavenly immortal. He is also considered a genius. I see that your sister and my brother are about the same age and cultivation realm. Why don't they become Dao companions? It can be considered a match made in heaven. The War King and Immortal King Ling Long are both busy. As long as Brother Lin agrees to let your sister and my brother become Dao companions. After the wedding, Brother Lin can naturally take your sister and leave. Wonderful. Hong Shan clapped his hands and said with a smile, the two of them can be considered a golden boy and jade girl, a perfect match, and well matched in terms of social status. With such a marriage alliance, the Warring States Kingdom can also receive Brother Song's full support. End of chapter. Chapter 2430. Lin Luo was worried that Lin Lei would agree to it in a moment of folly. She quickly said, no, I already have a cultivation partner. It's him. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo. Are you kidding me? Song Xian could not help but laugh. He did not think much of it. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Lin Luo was still a virgin. Lin Luo defended herself. The two of us have already pledged ourselves to each other. Enough. Lin Lei shouted and glared at Su Zimo. Then, he looked coldly at Song Xian and the rest and said slowly, the Lin family will settle the matter of the Warring States period. We don't need outsiders to help us. And we won't sacrifice Lin Luo in exchange for anyone's support. Your useless brother is not even fit to carry my sister's shoes. Lin Lei could see that Song Xian and the rest had no intention of letting them leave so easily. The marriage alliance was just an excuse. Oh, Lord Lan Tian smiled wickedly and said mockingly, judging from Brother Lin's tone, you don't like Brother Song's brother. How about this? How about you betroth your sister to me? After you betroth her to me, I will definitely dote on her. There was a burst of laughter in the hall. Lin Luo's face was flushed red, and she was furious. This was not just teasing her in front of Lin Lei, it was an insult to the Lin family. Everyone knew that Lord Lan Tian had many wives and concubines. Lin Luo was the daughter of 2 deity kings after all. How could she be reduced to such a state? Lan Tian. Lin Lei lowered his eyebrows slightly and called out softly. What? Young Master Lan Tian smiled. I think you have a death wish. Lin Lei abruptly raised his head, a pair of tiger-like eyes bursting with boundless killing intent. He raised the black mysterious war halberd with one hand, and drew a semicircle in the air, ruthlessly slashing down towards young Master Lan Tian, who was not far away. Young Master Lan Tian seemed to be relaxed, but his mind was already tense. The moment Lin Lei made a move, he reacted immediately. The tip of his foot touched the ground, and he retreated. Brother Lin is anxious. Lord Lan Tian chuckled. If Lin Lei continued to endure, the few of them would go even further. The 5 of them wanted to force Lin Lei to make Lin Lei and his sister stay in Langfeng City. Lord Lan Tian dodged the halberd and activated his Dao fruit. A halo appeared behind his head, and the feather fan in his hand opened. Quintessence gathered on the fan ribs, condensing into streams of sword qi, shooting out at Lin Lei. Young Master Lan Tian did not dare to be careless. He did not hold back from the start, activating his Dao fruit to fight. Lin Lei's wrist jerked, and the black mystic halberd drew a beautiful arc cling. Clang! Clang! The black mystic halberd blocked all the sword qi released by Lord Lan Tian, and let out a series of crisp sounds. Let's see how many moves you can take. Lin Lei hollered and his aura surged. He strode forward and swung the black mystic halberd. His moves were wide open and enveloped Lord Lan Tian. The black mystic halberd was imbued with powerful true yuan and was incomparably violent. Every time the halberd slashed, the surrounding void would distort. Lord Lan Tian felt weak and didn't dare to take it head-on. However, the moment Lin Lei attacked, he had the upper hand and formed a crushing momentum, not giving Lord Lan Tian any chance to breathe. The space to survive under the black mystic halberd became increasingly narrow. After just 10 moves, Lord Lan Tian was forced to take one of Lin Lei's moves head-on. Lord Lan Tian's body shuddered, and his arms were sore and trembling slightly. Boom! 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 After a slight pause, the 2 of them exchanged blows again. Peerless mystic skills exploded and clashed in midair, creating terrifying shockwaves. It was also a peerless mystic skill. The power produced by a perfected immortal expert, using the true yuan condensed from a Dao fruit far surpassed that of a heaven immortal. Even though Su Zimo wasn't a perfected immortal, he could tell that if the battle continued, Lord Lan Tian would definitely lose. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Hong Shan laughed loudly and took out a one-legged copper man weapon from his storage bag. With a leap he arrived in midair. Brother Lin, nice move. I'm itching for a fight. Let me give it a try. Hong Shan channeled his blood qi, and his entire body swelled into a fist. His clothes were torn apart, revealing a body that seemed to be made of molten iron. He swung the one-legged bronze man towards Lin Lei. When she saw that, Lin Luo couldn't help but shout, "You're all city lords of the 5 major immortal cities. How shameless are you 2 against 1? Little girl, you're in the wrong." Fairy Nanyang chuckled. "It was clearly your brother, who came to our place to behave atrociously. He attacked first. Who can you blame? This isn't a battle for the perfected immortal ranking. Who said that we have to fight one-on-one?" Guxiu said coldly. Lin Luo was furious and berated. "You're twisting the truth and twisting logic." Song Xian smirked and placed his hands behind his back. He said proudly, "Little girl, I'll teach you a lesson today. There's no such thing as black and white in this world. If my fist is big enough, I can control everything. Whether it's black or white, it's up to me." Boom! A tall figure fell heavily on the ground of the main hall, creating a huge pit and dust flying everywhere. It was Hong Shan, who had just charged forward, who was sent flying by Lin Lei's halberd. Hong Shan stood up from the dust and twisted his neck, letting out a series of cracking sounds. The veins on Hong Shan's neck bulged, and the wounds on his body healed quickly. He stared at Lin Lei's figure and became even more excited. He shouted again. "Good move." Guxiu snorted and leaped into the air. A long sword with a cold light circled around him as he charged towards Lin Lei. "I'll join in the fun too." Fairy Nanyang chuckled and attacked at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the 4 city lords had all joined the battle. "You guys!" Lin Luo clenched her fists and glared. "Good move." In midair, Lin Lei shouted, His black hair danced wildly as he pushed his blood chi to the limit. After the sound of the tide, 9 dragon roars resounded through the world. Roar, roar, roar. Beside Lin Lei, his blood chi surged and condensed into 9 lifelike divine dragons with sharp claws and teeth. The dragon heads were ferocious and murderous with rumbling might. Su Zimo had seen Lin Luo release this bloodline phenomenon of 9 dragons together once before. However, the same bloodline phenomenon released by Lin Lei was clearly much stronger than Lin Luo's. Lin Lei's blood chi and physique were extremely strong, and his melee combat strength was abnormally ferocious. After releasing his bloodline phenomenon, Lin Lei released another peerless mystic ability. 3 heads and 6 arms. His combat strength increased exponentially as he fought against the 4 city lords. Boom, 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 boom. The 4 city lords released their bloodline phenomenons, one after another as well. The reason why they could sit in the position of city lord was because they were the strongest perfected immortals of the Jade Heaven immortal realm. All of them had cultivated bloodline phenomenons. In an instant, a few different bloodline phenomenons collided in midair. It was extremely tragic. Although Lin Lei was fighting against 4 city lords alone, he became braver as the battle went on. He was not at a disadvantage at all. However, under the siege of the 4 city lords, it was extremely difficult for Lin Lei to break through their joint attack. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Lin Lei was not at a disadvantage and seemed to be maintaining the balance, the current situation was extremely disadvantageous for Lin Lei. Now only the 4 city lords had joined forces. If Song Xian or other perfected immortals joined the battle, Lin Lei would definitely not be able to hold on and would be defeated. Chapter 2431. The battle continued and intensified. The 5 city lords of the Jade Heaven immortal domain were not ordinary perfected immortals in the main hall. Instead, they were top experts who were qualified to compete for the perfected immortal ranking during the 9 Heavens immortal meet. Lin Lei's combat strength was heaven-defying, and his physique was shocking. Despite the high consumption of energy, he was still able to fight against the 4 city lords and remain undefeated. Both sides were in a stalemate for a long time, and nobody could break out of the stalemate within a short period of time. Su Zimo was puzzled. Lin Lei's trump cards were endless, and his talent in combat was indeed far superior to others. However, right from the beginning, Lin Lei had not released that mysterious footwork. Su Zimo had once had a flash of inspiration when his life was hanging by a thread, and was lucky enough to use it once. As such, he knew very well how strong that mysterious footwork was. If he used that footwork, Lin Lei would definitely be able to break out of the stalemate. Su Zimo glanced at Lin Luo beside him, and sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, asking the question in his mind. You mean the 9 Palaces' subtle footwork? Lin Luo was a little surprised. I've seen you use it once before. So, you don't know the origin of that footwork? Su Zimo nodded. Even so, Lin Luo explained patiently. The 9 Palaces' subtle footwork is a secret skill that my mother managed to master after obtaining an ancient inheritance. This secret skill is complicated and mysterious. My mother once imparted it to my father, brother and me. My father and brother are both extremely talented and have heaven-defying comprehension abilities. However, we could not grasp the essence of it. There's such a miraculous thing. Su Zimo was astonished. He did not know Lin Lei well. However, the human emperor's talent, opportunity and comprehension abilities were naturally 1 in a billion for him to be able to rise against the tides of Tianhuang mainland and lead the human race to a glorious era. However, if even the human emperor could not comprehend the 9 Palaces' subtle footwork, it could not be a problem of comprehension abilities. Lin Luo continued. The 9 Palaces' subtle steps covers a wide range of areas, including astrology, geomancy, yin and yang, the 5 elements, Taishian Jiazi, and many other mantras. The calculations are exquisite and minute. Speaking of which, it's strange. I haven't cultivated for long, but I can already control the 9 Palace subtle steps. After pausing for a moment, Lin Luo asked curiously, how can you use the 9 Palace subtle steps? At first, I thought that mother had taught you before. No. Hesitating for a moment, Su Zimo replied. Back then, it was merely a coincidence that I managed to release it. How could this be a coincidence? Lin Luo's eyes widened. After a while, Lin Luo said again. Big brother inherited more of father's Dao techniques, and I inherited more of mother's Dao techniques. Su Zimo nodded secretly. From this battle, it could be seen that Lin Lei's moves were ferocious and bold with a torrential aura, resembling the demeanor of the human emperor in the past. Su Zimo recalled something and instructed, if there's a chance later, leave with your brother as soon as possible. Don't bother about me. I have a teleportation jade badge in my storage bag, and can leave at any time. Lin Luo was a little confused and was about to ask when Song Xian, who was watching from the side, suddenly changed his expression. Although he could not hear what Su Zimo and Lin Luo were saying, he could sense an extremely dense spirit consciousness fluctuation between the two of them. Without any warning, Song Xian suddenly turned around and grabbed Lin Luo by the throat, lifting her from the ground. Su Zimo could not move under the suppression of Song Xian's spirit consciousness. Ah! Lin Luo exclaimed. In the midst of the battle, Lin Lei sensed something, and caught sight of this from the corner of his eye. He could not help but fly into a rage as his blood boiled and he roared. Song Xian, let go of her. In a battle of this level, both sides were top experts, and could not afford to be distracted at all. Lin Lei was worried about his sister's safety, and in that moment of distraction, he revealed an opening that was seized by the 4 city lords who attacked at the same time with an incomparably ferocious attack. Song Xian let go of Lin Luo and smiled. Of course, he would not really hurt Lin Luo. He merely wanted to make use of Lin Luo to distract Lin Lei. Poof! 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 The heads and arms formed by the 3 heads and 6 arms were destroyed by the attacks of the 4 city lords one after another, turning into streams of true essence that dissipated on the spot. The situation was reversed instantly. Even so, Lin Lei relied on his powerful blood qi and heaven-defying combat strength to withstand the fierce attacks of the 4 city lords. Jade-shattering palm. Right at this moment, a soft cry sounded on the battlefield. Song Xian had finally made his move. His timing was impeccable. When he made his move, Lin Lei was at his weakest after withstanding the attacks of the 4 city lords. Song Xian slapped out with his palm, and true essence condensed. A vast jade qi spread out and enveloped Lin Lei, condensing and freezing him continuously. In an instant, Lin Lei's body was covered with a jade luster. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a jade statue, and he couldn't move at all. Piak! Song Xian's palm slapped down, jade shattering. Lin Lei fell heavily to the ground and flipped up. Before he could do anything, his body swayed, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood that he spat out landed on the ground, and actually solidified like pieces of jade. Brother! Lin Luo let out a sorrowful cry. However, she was pinned to the ground by Jiang Xianyu and could not advance at all. She could only watch helplessly. Lin Lei's face was pale and his body swayed. He gripped the black mystic war halberd tightly with both hands to support his body and not fall to his knees. Fufu! Song Xian chuckled. Lin Lei, it's already impressive that you managed to survive my jade-shattering palm. Do you still want to fight? Young Master Lantian and the other 3 descended from midair as well. They looked at Lin Lei with mocking gazes. At that moment, Lin Lei's bloodline was transforming continuously. Its flow was slowing down, and it was gradually turning into jade. If his bloodline was completely assimilated, he would have to abandon this body. Despicable! Lin Lei cursed. As a city lord, how could you sneak attack me from behind? How shameless! The winner takes all. It's useless no matter what you say. Song Xian curled his lips and sneered disapprovingly. Lin Lei said coldly, so what if I lose? If you dare to take my life, you won't live either. Brother Lin, you must be joking. Why would I want your life? The 2 of you are just bait. Song Xian said with a smile. You. Lin Lei's expression changed, and his heart sank as he thought of a possibility. The purpose of these people was to make his mother rush over. At that time, the celestial kings of the Jade Heaven Celestial Realm would be alerted. Not only would their family be destroyed, but even the warring states would be completely destroyed. Have you finally guessed it? Song Xian's smile widened. Lin Luo also understood and suddenly shouted, "Brother, hurry up and leave. Tell mother not to come over. Protect father and the warring states. Don't worry about me." Lin Lei looked at Lin Luo with a pained expression. His heart was in a fierce struggle. "It's too late. None of you can leave." Song Xian did not stop Lin Luo from reminding him. He only shook his head with a mocking expression. Young Master Lantian and the others also released their divine sense and locked onto Lin Lei. As long as he made the slightest move, they would immediately attack. They would not even give Lin Lei the opportunity to use the transportation talisman to escape. Song Xian slightly raised his head and looked at Lin Lei condescendingly. He said proudly, "Lin Lei, from the moment you arrived here, the fate of your Lin family and the warring states has been decided. No one can change it. You accept your fate." Lin Lei's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion, powerlessness, and despair. The hand holding the black mysterious war halberd gradually loosened. At this moment, a purple-robed man walked into the hall. Chapter 2432. In the main hall, many perfected immortals tasted the blood peaches while watching the 5 city lords teach Lin Lei and his sister a lesson. They would chuckle, discuss, and toast each other merrily. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew by, and many cultivators couldn't help but shiver. After cultivating to the true immortal realm, not to mention the cold wind, even if it was some kind of peerless divine ability, it would be hard for them to react. "Bloody hell, what's going on?" a cultivator mumbled. Suddenly, that person caught sight of a purple robe fluttering past him from the corner of his eye. He raised his head instinctively and caught sight of a purple-robed man walking past him. The purple-robed man wore a cold silver mask and looked a little strange, revealing only a pair of deep eyes. "Who are you?" the perfected immortal shouted instinctively. Suddenly, the purple-robed man stopped in his tracks and turned around. His cold silver mask was facing that person, and the eyes behind the mask were looking at the jade plate on the table. On the jade plate, there was a half-bitten blood peach. "Is the peach delicious?" Suddenly the purple-robed man asked. The perfected immortal expert felt goosebumps from the purple-robed man's gaze. For some reason he felt guilty and replied instinctively, "Why yes, it's delicious." Piak. Suddenly, Wu Dao's true body raised his hand and slapped that person on the face. Before the perfected immortal could react, his head was smashed and exploded instantly. His essence spirit was destroyed, and he died on the spot. Another perfected immortal at the side was tasting the blood peach, when he suddenly realized that his face was splattered with hot blood. He raised his head instinctively. "You!" That person glared at the purple-robed man with widened eyes. Just as he was about to question, he only managed to say a single word before the purple-robed man's palm slapped down. It was too fast. Piak. That person felt a sharp pain in his head before his vision turned dark, and he lost consciousness. Right in front of everyone, the perfected immortal's head was smashed by the purple-robed man. In the blink of an eye, 2 perfected immortals were dead on the spot. After killing 2 true immortals in a row, the purple-robed man did not seem to realize it at all. It was as if he had just stepped on 2 ants and continued forward, let alone the other true immortals in the Grand Hall. Even Song Xian and the other city lords, Lin Lei and Lin Luo, turned to look over. "Who are you? How dare you come to my Langfeng city and behave atrociously?" The 2 perfected immortals leaped up with murderous intent. A halo of light bloomed behind their heads as they activated their Dao fruits and summoned their psychic magic treasures, charging towards the purple-robed man. The purple-robed man did not stop. He waved his hand lightly, as if he was driving away mosquitoes. The 2 perfected immortals suddenly froze in midair, not moving at all. Sizzle. In the next moment, in front of everyone's eyes, the bodies of the 2 perfected immortals seemed to have been sliced in half from the middle by an invisible, sharp blade. Blood gushed out and countless stinky organs flowed out, scattering all over the ground. Hiss. Many perfected immortals' pupils constricted as they gasped. To be able to cultivate to this level, They had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Naturally, they had seen countless storms. But this was the first time they had seen such a scene in their lives. The ones who had died were not ants, but perfected immortals like them. And the process of this purple-robed man killing perfected immortals was so effortless, as if he was blowing off dust. The purple-robed man stepped over the corpses of the two perfected immortals and passed through a bloody mist. However, there was not a single speck of blood on his body. He was surrounded by the aura of the netherworld, as if he was an emissary from the depths of hell. Everyone could feel that the power released by this purple-robed man did not exceed the true self-realm. In other words, this person was not an immortal king. It was also because of this that many perfected immortals were calm and did not panic too much. After all, there were thousands of perfected immortals in the Grand Hall. Moreover, there were the city lords of the 5 immortal cities. Although the city lords of the 5 immortal cities felt a little shaken, they quickly calmed down. The true self-realm was divided into the consolidation realm, heavenly human realm, Kongming realm, and insightful void realm. Just now, the 4 perfected immortals who had died had not exceeded the heavenly human realm. There was a huge gap between them and peak perfected immortals. The gap between them and the 5 of them was like heaven and earth. Moreover, this was Langfeng City, one of the 5 immortal cities of the Jade Firmament immortal realm. What could this person do? Song Xian narrowed his eyes and asked in a low voice, "How should I address you, fellow Taoist? Are you here for the Lin siblings?" Lin Lei frowned and exchanged a look with Lin Luo. Both of them were confused. They had no impression of this purple-robed man. The purple-robed man said indifferently, "You captured my people, but you don't recognize me?" "You are." Song Xian's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. "I am Araki Takeshi." Wu Dao's true body opened his mouth and spat out these 4 words. These 4 words instantly caused an uproar among the crowd in the hall. Many perfected immortals were shocked, and their expressions were uncertain. Lin Lei was also stunned on the spot. A look of disbelief appeared in his eyes as he muttered softly, "He really dares to come? Araki Takeshi from the demonic domain. So he is Araki Takeshi with the silver mask. I should have known. How is it possible? How dare Araki Takeshi come? Is he really not afraid of death?" The perfected immortals' expressions were solemn as they placed their palms on their storage bags. They did not dare to be careless as they released their divine sense to search around. Everyone thought that if Araki Takeshi had arrived, he would have brought his army of demonic cultivators with him. Song Xian and the other lords of the 5 immortal cities were also constantly searching, but they did not find any traces of demonic cultivators. "Tell me, how many people did you bring?" Young Master Lantian waved his folding fan and asked coldly. "I alone am enough to kill all of you." Wu Dao's tone was indifferent, as if he was stating an irrefutable fact. "Ha ha ha ha." Hong Shan could not hold it in any longer. With a loud laugh, he suddenly raised the one-legged copper man and pointed it at the martial Dao true body, almost poking his face. Wu Dao's body did not move, nor did he dodge. It was as if he could not feel the threat of this one-legged bronze statue. "Araki Takeshi, who do you think you are?" Hong Shan sneered. Even the supreme immortals of the 9 heavens immortal domain, the supreme arhat of the pure land, and the supreme true devil of the demonic domain would not dare to boast like this. "If I smash this bronze statue, your head will be smashed into pieces. How many lives do you have left?" Wu Dao's body did not answer. Behind the silver mask, 2 rays of divine light suddenly burst out from his eyes, dazzling and blinding. "Oh no!" Hong Shan was shocked and subconsciously raised the one-legged bronze statue, wanting to stop Wu Dao's body. Wu Dao's body stepped forward and raised his hand to punch. Bang! This punch hit the chest of the one-legged bronze statue. Hong Shan's body trembled as his eyes widened. He only felt a destructive and terrifying force crazily enter his body through the one-legged bronze statue. His palm was torn and blood flowed out. He could not hold the one-legged bronze statue at all. His entire arm could not feel. Chapter 2433. The one-legged copper man was sent flying back by Wu Dao's true body's punch, crashing into Hong Shan's chest. Crackle! Hong Shan's chest caved in, and a series of bone-cracking sounds instantly sounded. Countless broken bones pierced his internal organs, heart and lungs. Hong Shan opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. This one-legged copper man was a nine-tribulation pure young spirit treasure. Although Hong Shan's physique was strong, he could not withstand the impact of a pure young spirit treasure. His entire body was almost smashed to pieces by his one-legged copper man. Before Hong Shan could catch his breath, he felt a shadow envelop him. Wu Dao's true body followed like a shadow and had already chased after him. "Save me!" Hong Shan roared and frantically urged his essence spirit, wanting to release a teleportation technique to escape from this place. It was too terrifying. He had never expected that this demon region's Araki Takashi would attack so decisively, actually erupting with such a terrifying power that was completely unstoppable. His teleportation process was interrupted, and the other three were also shocked. Body stiffened, their expressions and his shocked. Movement technique. What the four of them did not expect was that momentary pause was more than enough for Wu Dao's main body. Even when facing a strong enemy like Lin Lei, Wu Dao's main body arrived and shattered Hong Shan's head with a single punch. Of an impact. In the blink of an eye, Araki Takashi's punch almost took Hong Shan's life. The impact of the sound of myriad spirits was not over yet, and young Master caused an even larger impact and unimaginable lethality. Activated their Dao fruits, even the five city lords could not withstand the sound domain secret skill. Preparing to besiege Wu Dao's true immortals were further away. Hong Shan. They were affected as well. Even more than 10 perfected immortal experts preparing to join forces with the other four immortal city lords and exploded into clouds of blood. Completely ignored Song Xian, and the rest were destroyed. He only stared at the retreating Hong Shan and suddenly opened his mouth. Their skin and flesh exploded, and the rest fell to the ground one after another with blood flowing everywhere. Song Xian, the essence spirits of those perfected immortals were already killed in their consciousness. They directly opened their mouths, perfected immortals, and released their sound different degrees of impact as well. Roar! Thankfully, as soon as they managed to preserve their lives, unleashed their sound domain secret technique to conjure secret earth-shattering to defend against from Wu Dao's mouth. The spirit consciousness suppression boundless authority that was initially restraining the sound domain secret arts and Lin Luo naturally dissipated as well. Drowned out by the initially. Only the cries of billions of living beings remained in everyone's ears under such an impact. Sound of myriad spirits. Lin Luo was not far from visible to the naked eye quickly and was only throughout the hall. Heavenly immortal. They first enveloped Song Xian, and the others could not withstand it. Continued to spread. How could Lin Luo be Song Xian's group of five were the closest to Wu Dao's main body. The shockwaves from the voice of all spirits to bear the brunt of the impact. And Lin Luo, Song Xian, without causing any harm to them, and young Master Lantian, the voice of all spirits seemed to have intentionally avoided the two of them. Their sound domain secret techniques, recalling some information regarding neutralize most of the power. Lin Lei's heart skipped a beat as he lamented before internally. She could react. I heard she was directly impacted by the sound of 10,000 spirits. Could it be that he's also her entire body stiffened and her eyes lost focus? Lin Luo was also a little confused and froze on the spot. Shattered. This is the moment. City lord of bright candle immortal city. Lin Luo heard a soft shout by her ears. By Wu Dao's main body pushed her forcefully towards Lin Lei and whispered, any divine powers. Remember what I said. Skills. Hurry and leave. Although Song Xian, Lin Luo and the other two managed to preserve their lives and recalled that they felt dizzy and previously told her to leave this place. The divine powers and secret skills in their hands dissipated now was indeed the best time. The three of them the remaining were shocked, three immortal city no longer be bothered to help on Araki Takashi. They retreated one after another. They already had a chance their best to distance themselves from Wu Dao's to the Qing Shao immortal domain. Hong Shan relied on his powerful physique about to say something to withstand the impact of the sound already turned around and ran towards the courtyard in the center of the hall. 7 orifices in the courtyard, Momo, expression, who was tied to a stone pillar, had already woken up due to the vibration of the voice of all spirits. He tried his best to raise his head and look in this direction. He saw a familiar figure running towards him in the chaotic battlefield with a determined look in his eyes. Momo could not believe her eyes. After he ascended, he had encountered countless hardships and dangers. He was even trapped here and had to bleed to nourish another peach tree. She had thought that she would die here. However, she did not expect that after being awakened by a roar, she would open her eyes and see the figure who had accompanied her for many years in Tianhuang town. Unknowingly, Momo's eyes were wet, and her vision gradually blurred. She was anxious, but her body was restrained and she could not free her hands. She could only blink her eyes hard, trying to see the figure clearly. Soon the figure ran in front of her. Momo tried her best to open her eyes and identify it. Her lips trembled slightly as she tried to call out, "Young master?" "It's me." Suzimo smiled and said, "I finally found you. I'll get you out." Upon hearing this familiar voice, Momo seemed to have a place to vent all the grievances she had suffered all these years. Bean-sized teardrops rolled down her cheeks and tears gushed out. Suzimo's heart ached at the sight of Momo crying. In Pingyang town of Tianhuang mainland, Momo guarded it silently and stood aloof from worldly affairs. When had she ever been hurt and wronged? The upper world that countless living beings yearned for did not attract Momo at all. If it wasn't for her, how could he have ascended to this place? "I'm sorry I'm late." Suzimo felt guilty and said softly. Reaching out, he broke the chains on Momo's body. Chapter 24-34. Suzimo's killing intent surged as he looked at the skinny and sallow Momo. The two true bodies were telepathically connected. Although Wu Dao's true body was on the battlefield, he could sense the emotions of Qinglian's true body. His gaze turned colder and his killing intent surged. Araki Takashi, this is one of the 5 major immortal cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm. You barged in and started a massacre. Don't even think about leaving alive today. Young Master Lantian hollered. You're going to start a massacre just like that? Wu Dao's true body moved and headed towards Song Xian, Young Master Lantian, and Guxiao. He said in a sinister tone. You're still far from it. Solitary Cloud Peak. Guxiao summoned his pure young numinous treasure from his storage bag and tossed it into the air. He channeled his Dao fruit, and the peak expanded rapidly, forming a gigantic shadow that crushed down on Wu Dao's true body. Even when he dealt with Lin Lei earlier on, he did not use that pure young numinous treasure. At the same time, Guxiao released a series of mystic skills that augmented Solitary Cloud Peak. 9 scorch marks flickered on the peak, and its power surged in a terrifying manner. Under the shroud of Solitary Cloud Peak, Wu Dao's true body appeared extremely tiny like a speck of dust. Boom! Solitary Cloud Peak descended, but Martial Dao body didn't even raise his head. He didn't even look at the mountain peak. He just continued to rush forward. He only raised his arm and opened his palm, supporting the mountain peak with his bare hands. The next moment, the perfected immortals witnessed an incomparably shocking scene. Wu Dao's true body supported a majestic peak with a single hand and was walking through the air. His speed did not decrease at all, and he was filled with a domineering aura. Blazing Moonslash. Young Master Lantian conjured a mystic skill and released a cold beam of burning flames. At the same time, he summoned the folding fan in his hands and fused with the mystic skill, slashing towards Wu Dao's true body. Clang! Without even looking, Wu Dao's true body tossed Solitary Cloud Peak over his head. Rumble! The burning moon slash collided with the Solitary Cloud Peak, causing a series of explosions that shook the earth and mountains. Wu Dao's true body's throw was too powerful. In the blink of an eye, it destroyed the burning moon slash and the giant mountain peak crashed towards young Master Lantian. Broken Jade Palm. At the same time, Song Xian arrived. The timing of his attack was still perfect. It was the exact moment when Wu Dao's main body had launched a series of attacks. The old energy had just dissipated, and the new energy had yet to be generated. His palm was covered in a layer of jade-like color as he slapped down. Wu Dao's main body didn't take any stance at all. Instead, he countered with a punch. Bang! The fist and palm collided, and a muffled sound rang out as if they had been defeated. Then Wu Dao's fist was instantly enveloped by a jade color. The jade color continued to spread, and at a speed visible to the naked eye. It went along his arm and covered his entire body. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao turned into a jade statue. This is bad. Seeing this, Lin Lei, who was below, gasped. Just now, he had been ambushed by Song Xian and taken advantage of the situation. He had been struck by this broken jade palm and lost his ability to fight. He had yet to recover. He'll be fine, right? Lin Luo had a worried expression. This broken jade palm is extremely powerful. It can turn one's bloodline into jade. Lin Lei said gravely. This Araki Takashi's strength is indeed extraordinary, but he's too arrogant. He really shouldn't have taken this blow head-on against Song Xian. He could have avoided Song Xian's palm. Although he was temporarily pushed back, he could have stabilized his footing and planned a counterattack. Wu Dao's main body and Song Xian's fist and palm collided. They were motionless, as if time had stopped. Before Lin Lei could finish speaking, he discovered that Song Xian's eyes were wide open. There wasn't the slightest bit of joy in them. Instead, they were filled with terror. Boom! The jade layer on Wu Dao's main body exploded. His blood qi surged with the sound of waves crashing against the shore like rolling thunder. Even Lin Lei and Song Xian, who were far below, could sense the powerful blood qi power emanating from Wu Dao's main body. It was vast, boundless, and unstoppable. Wu Dao's main body didn't look injured at all. His blood qi was circulating, and his aura was even stronger. At the same time, Song Xian's entire body shook as though he was struck by lightning. He retreated rapidly, and spat out a mouthful of blood into the air. One punch! Lin Lei's eyes widened in shock. He had fought with Song Xian before, and was well aware of Song Xian's background. Song Xian's combat strength was comparable to his. But now, Song Xian couldn't even take a single punch from Araki Takashi from the demon domain. You're quite capable to be able to survive a single punch from me. Wu Dao's main body said indifferently. Swash! Wu Dao's main body flashed. Young Master Lantian had just neutralized Lone Cloud Peak's charge. Before he could catch his breath, he saw Wu Dao's main body approaching him. It was too fast. The moment that thought appeared in young Master Lantian's mind, Wu Dao's main body had already attacked. There were no mystic skills or mystic skills. It was just a simple punch. That punch was more explosive than fire, as turbulent as the sea and as heavy as a mountain. Young Master Lantian had been through countless battles since he started cultivating, but he had never seen such a terrifying punch. That punch was more terrifying than any mystic skills, or spirit channeling Dharma treasures. The yuan qi of heaven and earth around young Master Lantian had been completely burned away in an instant. The void was collapsing, and his body was falling forward involuntarily. The power of that punch was not the only thing that was terrifying. Furthermore, it was only a single punch, but it had completely sealed off all of his escape routes. There was no way to retreat. Young Master Lantian's expression was grim as he roared and channeled his Dao fruit wildly. He took out a gigantic shield from his storage bag and placed it in front of him. Against that punch, he did not have the courage or strength to retaliate, and could only defend passively. 8 scorch marks from the heavenly tribulation appeared on the shield, flickering with crackling lightning. Boom! Wu Dao's main body's fist descended and struck the shield heavily. In fact, he did not even think of stopping, and circled around the spirit channeling Dharma treasure to attack once more. Crack! 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 Cracks appeared on the shield and spread to every corner instantly. The fist penetrated the shield and struck young Master Lantian's chest. Poof! Instantly, a gigantic hole appeared in young Master Lantian's chest and blood gushed out like a fountain. The destructive power surged into his sea of consciousness, crushing his primordial spirit. Before his essence spirit could react, he was killed on the spot. Young Master Lantian's expression was blank. There was no fear in his eyes before he died, only endless shock. He did not expect that his defensive shield, an 8th tribulation spirit treasure, would be penetrated and shattered by Wu Dao's main body with a single punch. Another one of the 5 immortal city lords was dead. Even an 8th tribulation spirit treasure can't withstand it. What a terrifying physique. What powerful blood qi. Lin Lei could not help but murmur softly. He had inherited more than half of his father's inheritance, and had his own fortuitous encounters, as well as many secret techniques from his mother. He thought that he was invincible in a one-on-one fight. But now, facing the power displayed by Wu Dao's main body, Lin Lei even had the thought of retreating, and did not dare to fight. Lin Lei did not realize that what he saw now was only the tip of the iceberg of Wu Dao's main body. Chapter 2435. In the courtyard at the center of the main hall, Su Zimo had just helped Momo down when he sensed a commotion behind him. Su Zimo swept his gaze and was enraged. At that moment, the entire place was in chaos. The immortality peach tree in the courtyard extended countless branches towards him and Momo. The immortality peach tree wanted to absorb Momo's blood as well. Su Zimo conjured a sword art and slashed in reverse. Dozens of branches were severed from the middle. Scarlet blood splattered out from the branches of the immortality peach tree. A terrifying wail of pain could be heard from the immortality peach tree, as though ghosts were wailing. Under the nourishment of Momo's blood, the immortality peach tree was gradually gaining sentience. How dare you act so brazenly, demon tree? Su Zimo's expression was cold as he prepared to uproot the immortality peach tree. Momo, who was initially in his embrace, tugged at his sleeves gently and whispered, "Leave it to me, young master." "You." Su Zimo frowned slightly. He was worried when he saw Momo's weakened state. Momo did not reply. She struggled to stand up and extended her arms. Suddenly, all 10 of his fingers transformed into peach tree branches and extended towards the immortality peach tree, piercing into its body instantly. Of the 5 immortal city lords and channeled her Dao art. Now, murmuring
only the
softly,
city lord of Langfeng City,
so much of my blood over the years. Who would have thought that young Master Lan Tian and the others,
he was robbing the life essence of the immortality
lord
peach
with
tree.
great power and authority, would fall off the altar. The immortality peach tree swayed wildly, and its body had a huge impact on everyone heard from its body. Those perfected immortal experts, as time passed by, high and mighty, the trunken branches of the immortality peach tree started to wither. Even had the chance to on the other hand, for the perfected immortal list, condition gradually
now
recovered.
like weak mortals.
The flesh on his body also became from the demon domain, and his face regained some color. The pure young spiritual treasure of the ninth tribulation. At this moment, it was only 3 punches. The blood peaches on the peach tree of immortality shattered one after another, from the demon domain wanted to deal all over the place. They would be crushed to death with just a move of his finger, and it wanted to use the blood essence of perfected immortal experts in the main hall. It wanted to devour Momo's bloodline and life essence. They were no longer Momo's in the mood body to swayed, and she almost looked at the purple-robed figure in midair and disappeared. Their eyes filled with endless fear. A peach tree appeared on the spot, as if they had seen a ghost, just like the one in the courtyard in Pingyang Town. So those rumors are all true. All these years, he had been imprisoned in tribulation. His physical condition was too poor. Demon army. Su Zimo secretly frowned true demon and prepared to intervene about at any time to interrupt the process. Many perfected immortals came to worse. He would just destroy the peach tree. Although they did not see with their own eyes what had happened in the demon domain 1,000 years ago. Under the peach tree that Momo had transformed into methods, a blurry figure appeared. They no longer doubted the rumors that they had once could not be seen. Finally, she could vaguely tell that it was a immortals could not bear the pressure. She was wearing a blood-red robe, and fled out of the main hall, which was somewhat dazzling. In such a situation, Su Zimo shuddered. As long as one person escaped, he seemed to have returned to that night in Pingyang Town and caused more perfected immortal experts to flee. The moonlight was like water, and peach blossoms fell one after another. The woman stood under the peach tree with the haze around her like a fairy that had descended to the mortal realm. No one dared to go in the direction of Momo. It was that night when the woman imparted the Tao beneath the peach tree and tried to suppress the fear in his heart. Brought him into the path of cultivation. He could not help but shout. Momo was enlightened by Dayu and gained sentience. At that critical moment, no one paid attention to him, converged and revealed what happened even that night. Even if someone heard Song Xian shout, although Dayu did not reveal her true appearance, they turned a deaf ear and pretended had her back facing the peach tree not far away. Wu Dao's main body the moment her figure appeared, and felt an indescribable pressure that made it hard for him to breathe. Collapsed instantly. Of the 5 immortal city lords, a whimper sounded from within the peach tree of immortality. Song Xian understood that Araki Takashi from the infernal domain had done it on purpose. Swoosh, because he was the one who had captured Momo, surged into Momo's body, wanted him to be the last Momo's to bear was rising rapidly and tremendous pressure. At the same time, Song Xian also knew that he couldn't fight against Wu Dao by himself. This time, if they wanted to fight for a chance of survival, they would have to unite the remaining thousands of true immortals and combine their strength to fight it head-on. Even if they couldn't kill Araki Takashi here, they could at least buy time and wait for reinforcements from the 12 palaces. Under normal circumstances, unless an immortal king arrived, the 12 palaces' palace lords and immortal king powerhouses would not be able to sense him. However, if too many true immortals died here, the commotion would be too great, and the immortal king would definitely notice. As long as an immortal king arrived, he would be able to save his life. Everyone stop. Song Xian took a deep breath and shouted. Those who disobey will be punished for the crime of treason and killed without mercy. Once this order was given, many true immortals who were fleeing were suppressed and looked at Song Xian. Song Xian shouted, "Everyone listen to my orders. As long as we work together, we will definitely win this battle." That's right. Jiang Xianyu, who had just escaped the threat of the Red Lotus Hellfire and was burned beyond recognition, gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Araki Takashi is alone. If we work together, we will definitely be able to kill him. If we allow this bastard to go on a killing spree in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, we will lose face in the future. Everyone, let's work together and kill him." Under Song Xian's command, the true immortals' blood was rekindled and they shouted. Wu Dao looked at Song Xian with a mocking look in his eyes under the silver mask. "Kill him." Song Xian pointed at Wu Dao and roared. In an instant, thousands of true immortals attacked. Countless psychic magic treasures broke through the air and interweaved into an impenetrable net in midair. Countless mystiques seemed to converge into a raging tide that swept over with great momentum. Wu Dao stood motionless in midair. He did not even have the intention to dodge. He's still not leaving? Lin Lei's eyes widened. What kind of true immortal expert could withstand such an attack? Wu Dao's eyes suddenly turned black. If one looked closely, they would be able to tell that they were two balls of black flames that filled his entire pupils. Wu Dao's aura changed drastically, and it was filled with a sinister and terrifying aura. Before these mystiques could land on Wu Dao's body, black flames appeared and burned. A ball of black flames also appeared under Wu Dao's feet. It quickly spread in all directions and formed a sea of black flames. When the black flames descended, the temperature in the hall did not rise at all. Instead, it dropped rapidly. Many cultivators did not even have time to react before they were engulfed in the sea of flames. Ah! Those cultivators shrieked tragically as their features contorted and they struggled. It was as though they were experiencing unimaginable pain. Some of the cultivators tore at their flesh in a frenzy. However, the pain they felt was not even 1,000th of the pain brought to them by the black flames. It was an indescribable pain. Many true immortals would rather die and have their souls destroyed, never to be able to rise again, than endure the burning of such flames. The black flames were not scorching. Instead, they were sinister and could cause one to wish for death. Lin Lei and his sister looked at the tragic state of the true immortal experts in the sea of black flames and felt chills run down their spines. What is that? Lin Luo could not help but ask. Lin Lei gulped and said slowly, "Legend has it that there's a type of black flame in the depths of the Avicii hell that can bring endless pain to living beings. To think that Araki Takashi of the Fiend Domain has already mastered that flame. Hellfire was a manifestation of the pain of billions of living beings. In the Avicii hell, the hellfire would never be extinguished and would never stop." In midair, Wu Dao's true body stood in midair. With him as the center, the surrounding black flames enveloped the entire hall, forming a gigantic black fire lotus. Chapter 2437. The look in Lin Lei's eyes as he looked at the figure in the air also gradually changed. At first, when he saw the power of Wu Dao's real body, Lin Lei was not convinced. He even wanted to have a good fight with him one day. But later on, Lin Lei gradually gave up on this idea and developed a kind of admiration for the martial Dao body. Now looking at the fiery hell in front of him, Lin Lei felt a trace of fear in his heart. Unlike him, Lin Luo, who was next to him, was still a little scared at first. But now Lin Luo's eyes flickered. She seemed to have discovered something, and she calmed down. Oh no! Lin Lei thought of something, and took out a transfer talisman from his storage bag. He said in a low voice, "Let's go before it's too late." "What's wrong?" Lin Luo asked instinctively. Lin Lei quickly explained, "The destructive power of this hellfire is too terrifying, and the commotion is too great. With so many true immortals dying here, the 12 palaces will definitely sense it. The celestial kings of the Jade Heaven celestial realm will come here at any time. With the power of a celestial king, even if they had a transfer talisman, they might not be able to leave." But what about Su Zimo? Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo instinctively. She was still worried. After all, Su Zimo came from the mortal world, gave her the fretless fruit, and helped her get the 9-orifice Yang restoration elixir. This was a huge favor to her and the Lin family. "Why do you care about that brat at this time?" Lin Lei did not know the inside story, and he had a bad first impression of Su Zimo. He was annoyed by his sister's ignorance. In the center of the hall, Momo had finished the process of absorbing and refining. Her flesh was full, and her complexion was much better. On the other side, the peach tree of immortality had completely turned into a withered old peach tree. Its branches were bare, and there wasn't even a single leaf, let alone a fruit. When Su Zimo saw Wu Dao release the hellfire, he also realized that the immortal kings of the Jade Heaven immortal realm could arrive at any time. "Let's leave this place." Without hesitation, Su Zimo prepared to leave with Momo. "Wait." Momo walked to the side of the peach tree. She reached out and split the tree trunk. Inside the tree trunk, there was a green sapling that was as thick as a finger. Momo did not completely refine the immortality peach tree. Instead, she gave it a chance to live. Momo stepped forward, dug out the sapling, and put it into her storage bag. Then she said to Su Zimo, "Young master, let's go." Su Zimo took out the transmitting jade plate, given to him by the patriarch of the academy, and crushed it. There was a flash of green light. When the transmitting jade plate broke, a powerful force burst out and tore the void where the two of them were, forming a space vortex. Then Su Zimo and Momo were sucked into the space vortex and disappeared from the center of the hall. Seeing this, Lin Luo heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Lei also tore the transmitting talisman in his hand and urged, "Okay, he has already left this place. Let's leave quickly." "But what about him?" Lin Luo looked at Wu Dao, who was in midair, and said worriedly, "If the immortal kings arrive, Brother, why don't you let him go with us?" Lin Lei struggled for a while, then became determined again. Without saying a word, he dragged Lin Luo into the space vortex and disappeared. In fact, to Lin Lei, Araki Takashi from the demon realm was the savior of his brother and sister. It was because of Araki Takashi's arrival that Song Xian and the others' foolproof plan was completely destroyed. But Lin Lei did not dare to take Araki Takashi away. One of the reasons was that Araki Takashi was from the demon realm. More importantly, after today's battle, Araki Takashi would definitely become the target of the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm. If he brought Araki Takashi back to the Lin family, it would definitely bring war to his family and the Sengoku Kingdom, or even a disaster. He could not bear the consequences. Langfeng City, in the main hall of the city lord's mansion. "Araki Takashi, you're finished." Song Xian looked at Wu Dao's true body and said viciously. It had to be said that as the #1 true immortal of the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm, Song Xian did have some tricks up his sleeve. He had actually withstood the impact of the hellfire without dying. Of course, in order to withstand the hellfire, Song Xian had even used his bloodline phenomenon. Seeing that Su Zimo and Lin Lei had already left, Wu Dao's true body was even more relieved. He had no more worries. He walked toward Song Xian. In his eyes, Song Xian was already a dead man. Song Xian sneered. With so many true immortals dead here, the immortal king of the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm must have noticed. When the immortal king arrives, you'll pay with your life. Is that so? Wu Dao's true body said indifferently. He stepped forward and said, "Hand over your life first." Boom! Wu Dao's true body raised his hand and punched Song Xian's bloodline phenomenon. This bloodline phenomenon had already expended a lot of energy resisting the hellfire. Now that it had taken a punch from Wu Dao's true body, it instantly collapsed. Jade Firmament 6 artifacts. Song Xian roared angrily. His hands kept changing hand seals. Suddenly, 6 incomparably exquisite jade artifacts flew out from his body. Jade annulus, jade amber, jade tablet, jade stone, jade stamp, and jade pendant. 9 burn marks flickered on the 6 jade artifacts, emitting jade-colored divine light. 6 pure yang spirit treasures. For a true immortal, it was already rare to have a pure yang spirit treasure. The reason why Song Xian was the most powerful of the lords of the 5 major immortal cities was because he was in control of these 6 pure yang spiritual treasures. These 6 jade artifacts were known as the Jade Firmament 6 artifacts and were extremely famous. Among the Jade Firmament 6 artifacts, one could even condense a powerful killing technique. 6 artifacts to the heavens, Song Xian roared. He knew that this was the final moment of life and death. He didn't want to rely on this technique to suppress Wu Dao's true body. He only hoped that the 6 pure yang spirit treasures and this technique could buy him some time. He even sensed a powerful intent coming from the direction of the 12 palaces. The immortal king of the Jade Firmament immortal domain had come out. Using jade as the 6 artifacts to worship the heavens and earth. Using Songbai to worship the heavens, Huang Song to worship the earth, Qinggui to the east, Scarlet Spear to the south, White Amber to the west, and Xianhuang to the north. Together, the 6 artifacts to worship the heavens. This 6 artifacts to worship the heavens was originally Song Xian's greatest trump card. Chapter 2438. Boom! With a loud bang, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. The Jade Heaven 6 artifacts suffered a terrifying impact and instantly exploded. A huge bronze square cauldron broke through heaven and earth, emitting an ancient and heavy aura as it stood in the air. The descent of this bronze square cauldron caused even the void to distort and tremble. Wu Dao did not plan to tangle with Song Xian. He directly took out the prison-suppressing cauldron and used his supreme divine power to smash the 6 pure yang spiritual treasures away. The prison-suppressing cauldron was a great emperor weapon. When the cauldron was damaged and the 4 saint souls were exhausted, they fell into a deep slumber. This emperor weapon could not unleash any power, but it was incomparably hard and could not be shaken. But now, the cauldron had recovered, and the 4 saint souls had also recovered to the peak of the true self-realm. The prison-suppressing cauldron was in the hands of Wu Dao and had undergone the baptism of the 10th stage of heavenly tribulation. Its power was much stronger than the pure yang spiritual treasures. Spiritual treasures could at most survive the 9th stage of heavenly tribulation, but the prison-suppressing cauldron had undergone the 10th stage of heavenly tribulation and had transformed into the only one in the upper world. It was even stronger than the Emperor of Infinity in his lifetime. Wu Dao held the prison-suppressing cauldron and stepped forward, smashing it fiercely towards Song Xian. On the cauldron, the 4 saint souls awakened at the same time and erupted with an earth-shattering roar that shook the heavens and earth. The 4 saint souls were the strongest existences among the 10,000 races. When they appeared at the same time, they emitted a powerful aura. Song Xian was enveloped by the prison-suppressing cauldron. His bloodline was firmly suppressed, and even raising his arm became extremely difficult. Jade Heaven 6 artifacts. Song Xian roared and mobilized his divine sense again, gathering the 6 pure yang spiritual treasures in front of him to resist the power of the prison-suppressing cauldron. The Jade Heaven 6 artifacts formed a defensive barrier above Song Xian's head. Song Xian raised his head, and his expression changed drastically. His pupils contracted. Tiny cracks had already appeared on the Jade Heaven 6 artifacts. The Jade Heaven 6 artifacts had already shattered when they collided with the prison-suppressing cauldron. Boom! The prison-suppressing cauldron descended and smashed onto the Jade Heaven 6 artifacts again. The Jade Heaven 6 artifacts exploded in front of Song Xian's eyes, turning into tiny jade stones that flew in all directions. Under this immense force, some of the jade stones even sank into Song Xian's body, creating bloody holes. Song Xian's body was riddled with holes. However, to peak true immortals, this was not fatal. Suddenly, a huge spiritual sense pressure descended, and the void above Langfeng City split open. Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in my Jade Firmament immortal region? A voice filled with anger and majesty rang out. Whoosh! Accompanied by this fierce shout, from the crack in the sky, before the figure appeared, a huge hand that covered the sky stretched out and slammed down towards Wu Dao's original body. This was the power of an immortal king. Even the true Wu Dao's body, which had reached the small success stage, couldn't withstand it. Senior, save me! Song Xian used all his strength and roared, his eyes glowing with a strong desire to live. The immortal king of the 12 palaces had descended. He could survive. Humph. Wu Dao's original body stared at Song Xian with a cold gaze and said coldly, If I, Araki Takeshi, want to kill someone, even an immortal king can't save you. Wu Dao's original body controlled the prison-suppressing cauldron and slammed it towards the huge hand that was descending from the sky. At the same time, he rushed towards Song Xian and activated his primordial spirit. His hands constantly formed seals, and a huge door appeared in front of him. Black qi lingered around it, eerie and terrifying. This door seemed to be able to devour everything. It was dark inside, like a bottomless abyss. Song Xian's face was pale. He couldn't resist the door's devouring, and rushed towards it uncontrollably. This was the Dao technique created by Wu Dao's original body, Hell's Gate. Although this Dao technique didn't have the power of a grotto heaven, it already had a trace of its charm. Song Xian couldn't resist at all. In the blink of an eye, half of his body had fallen into the Hell's Gate. Song Xian still didn't give up. The immortal king of the 12 palaces had arrived. As long as he could withstand this attack, he would definitely be saved. He didn't want to die. Jade Heaven Slash. Song Xian was trapped in the Hell's Gate. Facing Wu Dao's original body, who was close at hand, Song Xian unleashed a fierce primordial spirit mystic technique. A jade-colored brilliance slashed towards the glabella of Wu Dao's original body. Wu Dao's original body didn't dodge, and allowed the primordial spirit mystic technique to hit the silver mask. The mask seemed to have been stimulated by something. Suddenly, like the surface of a lake, ripples appeared on its surface. Then, ghostly faces appeared on its surface. Song Xian was already severely injured. Now that he was being corroded by the Avicii demonic qi, the primordial spirit mystic technique's offensive power was limited. It was easily neutralized by the Mara mask. No reaction. Song Xian's eyes widened. They were filled with confusion, resentment. However, he no longer had the chance. The Avicii demonic qi continued to surge, corroding and polluting everything. It transformed into a pair of giant hands that constantly pulled Song Xian's body into the dark abyss. In the blink of an eye, Song Xian was swallowed up by the Hell's Gate. Boom! At this moment, the giant hands collided with the prison-suppressing cauldron, causing a loud explosion. The power of an immortal king was indeed terrifying. The four saint souls' power dissipated, and they instantly fell into a deep sleep. The prison-suppressing cauldron also flew back. However, the power of the giant hands was not yet exhausted. They grabbed at Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's true body caught the prison-suppressing cauldron and hid behind the Hell's Gate. Boom! There was another loud bang. The giant hands slammed onto the Hell's Gate. Countless cracks appeared on the dark and eerie gate, and it collapsed in the blink of an eye. The Hell's Gate was also shattered by the giant hands, and a cold corpse was thrown out. To be precise, it could only be considered a skeleton. Song Xian's flesh and blood had mostly been corroded by the Avicii demonic qi. Only the outline of his body and face could be vaguely recognized. The last immortal city lord had also died tragically on the spot. More importantly, Song Xian was only killed by Wu Dao's true body after the immortal king arrived and attacked. The commotion here had long alarmed the entire Langfeng city. Countless cultivators were shocked and dumbfounded by this scene. A figure had already appeared in the crack in midair. When the immortal king saw the tragic death of Song Xian, he was furious. Wu Dao's true body stood in front of him and killed the immortal city lord. This was also a great provocation to his dignity. "You're courting death!" The immortal king roared angrily. The void behind him collapsed. He directly summoned his grotto heaven and attacked again, suppressing Wu Dao's true body. After Wu Dao's true body killed Song Xian, his divine sense moved and gathered the mini Dao fruits on the ground together. He activated the prison-suppressing cauldron and slammed it into the void beside him. Boom! The void collapsed, and a spatial crack appeared. Wu Dao's true body looked at the immortal king with a trace of provocation in his eyes. He flashed into the crack. "Where do you think you're going?" Seeing that Wu Dao's true body was about to escape, the immortal king was anxious and directly chased after him. Chapter 2439. At the same time, cracks appeared in other directions of the void, and more than a dozen terrifying existences with powerful auras walked out from them. One of them was Song Xian's master, the seventh palace master. When the cultivators in Langfeng City saw these figures, their expressions changed drastically, and they revealed a look of respect. The celestial kings of the 12 palaces. Normally, it was very difficult for them to even see a single one of these legendary powerhouses. But now, more than a dozen celestial kings had arrived in Langfeng City at the same time. The commotion this time was too big. The seventh palace master looked at the celestial king, who was chasing after Wu Dao's original body, and suddenly frowned and shouted, "Fate-born, stop chasing, come back." Although the celestial king called Fate-born heard the voice of the seventh palace master, his heart was burning with anger. He wanted to catch Wu Dao's original body and regain his face, so he was not willing to give up. In the blink of an eye, Fate-born celestial king followed Wu Dao's original body into the void crack and disappeared. "Why didn't you let Fate-born chase after him?" The third palace master's face was gloomy, and he pointed at the scene below and said coldly, "Look, what did that demon do?" The seventh palace master was expressionless, and he did not say a word. The expressions of the other celestial kings also became extremely ugly. In this battle, the city master's mansion had almost been reduced to ruins. The hall where the blood peach banquet was held was burned to ashes by the hellfire, and more than half of the thousands of true celestial realm powerhouses were buried in it. More and more cultivators gathered here, and when they saw the scene in the city master's mansion, they were shocked and horrified. It was just like hell, and the corpses of many true celestial realm powerhouses were scattered in the ruins, looking miserable and shocking. Because it was the Feast of Peaches, and Song Xian was holding the blood peach banquet, almost all the true celestial realm powerhouses in the Jade Heaven celestial realm had gathered here. But now, in just one battle, the lords of the 5 celestial cities had fallen. More than half of the remaining true celestial realm powerhouses were also dead. Even the true celestial realm powerhouses who were lucky enough to survive were mostly injured, and were greatly frightened. In this battle, the true immortal realm of the Jade Heaven immortal realm suffered a great loss. What was certain was that the Jade Heaven celestial region wouldn't have a chance to compete for a spot on the true immortal list in the near future. No one knew how many tens of thousands of years it would take for the Jade Firmament immortal realm to recover. The seventh palace master closed his eyes, unable to calm his mind for a long time. How could this be? It was supposed to be a foolproof plan to deal with the Lin family and the Qing Shao warring kingdom. How did it provoke some Araki Takashi from the demon realm? What is this? An immortal king said with a murderous aura. Desolate marshal of the fiend region came to our Jade Firmament immortal city to start a massacre. He's declaring war on our Jade Firmament immortal region. Not bad. Another immortal king said coldly. Palace masters, ever since the heaven realm was split into 3 realms, such a thing has never happened. Our Jade Firmament immortal region must fight back. Araki Takashi from the demon realm is too arrogant. Palace masters, let's gather our men and kill our way to the demon realm. Let's kill the Heaven Baron sect founded by Araki Takashi. Several immortal kings suggested. If they didn't do anything, they would become the laughingstock of the heaven realm. The second palace master shook his head slightly and said, "If I'm not wrong, the bronze cauldron that Araki Takashi is controlling may be the Emperor's weapon of the Emperor of Eternity, the prison-suppressing cauldron." The prison-suppressing cauldron. Hearing this name, the immortal king's hearts trembled. No one dared to underestimate the weapon of a great emperor. After a short silence, an immortal king said, "So what if Araki Takashi has a great emperor's weapon? He's just a true immortal. This great emperor's weapon can't be used in his hands." "That's right," the second palace master said. "However, if he has the prison-suppressing cauldron, it's very likely that he has already controlled the Hell of Eternity. With this kid's cultivation, it's impossible for him to break through the void and leave. There's only one possibility for him to be able to do this, and that is, he used the prison-suppressing cauldron to open a passage to the Hell of Eternity and return there." The immortal king's expressions changed slightly, as if they had realized something. If Araki Takashi returned to the Hell of Eternity, then Yuan Sheng also entered the Hell of Eternity? That should be right. When the immortal kings heard this, they looked at each other and fell silent. They all knew how terrifying the Hell of Eternity was. With their cultivation, they didn't dare to enter the Hell of Eternity. Araki Takashi had the prison-suppressing cauldron, so he could naturally be safe and sound in the Hell of Eternity. But if Yuan Sheng were to fall into the Hell of Eternity, then, right then, the third palace's master sensed something, and took out a message talisman from his storage bag, and glanced at it. There was a message from the 12 palaces. There were only 4 words on it. Yuan Sheng died. Araki Takashi. When the immortal kings heard this, their hatred grew. The third palace master couldn't help but say, "So what if this Araki Takashi has the prison-suppressing cauldron? Even if we can't kill him for the time being, we can still rush to the demon domain and wipe out his Heaven Baron sect." Another immortal king gritted his teeth and said, "That's right. If we plan carefully, We might be able to set up a trap and kill him in advance. With our methods, as long as we prepare in advance and seal space, even if he has the prison-suppressing cauldron, he won't be able to break through space and escape back to the hell of eternity. The seventh palace master shook his head and sighed. If this Araki Takashi only has one prison-suppressing cauldron, it's not a big deal. If I'm not wrong, the silver mask on Araki Takashi's face should be the legendary Mask of Mara. Mask of Mara. Emperor Bo-sun's mask. When these 4 words came out, the expressions of the immortal kings changed and they all gasped. Compared to the Emperor of Eternity, Emperor Bo-sun was closer to them and had a greater deterrent effect on them. After all, the Emperor of Eternity was too far away, and Emperor Bo-sun had just been born a while ago. Moreover, he had escaped from the hell of eternity alive and killed several immortal kings. Now his whereabouts were unknown. Since ancient times, Emperor Bo-sun was the only living being who could escape from the hell of eternity alive. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, Emperor Bo-sun was one of the most powerful emperors in the heaven realm, and even the upper realm. And now, no one knew what realm Emperor Bo-sun had cultivated to. No one knew what sort of bloody storm would arise when Imperial Monarch Bo-sun made an appearance once more. After a while, an immortal king could not help but ask, "This child is wearing the Mask of Mara, then his relationship with Emperor Bo-sun?" The other immortal kings were silent. The second palace master sighed softly and said, "Now I understand why Araki Takashi was able to establish the Heaven Baron sect and rise in a place full of blood and slaughter, like the demon domain, without encountering any trouble. It turns out that there is." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.